in the early moments of the Parkland shooting. It did not seem nearly as serious as it ended up being because we just weren't able to get those reports. These people have been taken out. Whoever's been injured has been taken out to the hospital. All we have right now, Jim, is some very basic reporting that came out of the Anne Arundel County EMS a while ago, saying that there are 4 fatalities. So we know that much. At least 4 people have been killed. And Tom Costello was reporting a tweet out of the newspaper that appears to be from the Boston Globe, which is the parent company of the Capital Gazette, indicating that multiple people have been shot. Jim, when you see the police, and that's the Capital Gazette has posted the shooting reported at the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis, staff say. This is apparently somebody has conveyed this information to the Baltimore Sun, which has published that information. Jim, when you saw those pictures of the German Shepherd sniffing around at cars, what does that indicate? Can you just bring a dog out and start sniffing, or does that dog have a scent and is it looking for something?
Well, it's likely a bomb-sniffing dog. You know, they're just checking cars to make sure there's no devices or guns. They can find ammunition from the explosive powder. Most likely that's what they're doing with the bomb dog. And it's likely is a bomb dog. They're not searching for drugs now or anything else. Unless they might have an escaped person, it could be a tactical canine or a patrol canine. We don't really know because we haven't seen it close enough. We have 4 dead, Allie, but it could be 3 victims and the killer who committed suicide. So that's unclear as well. It could be 3 victims and the police could have killed the person. So we don't quite know. Right now, the officers
and we have to just keep on saying that. We don't know. And we understand that that's frustrating to watch when we don't have the facts and we don't wish to speculate. Unfortunately, we've seen too many of these things. Tom Costello, what have you got?
You know, I was just, as we were looking at these scenes and trying to gather more information, and it is striking that you've now got the Baltimore Sun, the parent company, of course, of this particular newspaper, reporting that there's been a shooting apparently in their newsroom offices. It caused me, Ali, to hearken back to, we've had reporters targeted, as you know, in recent months and years, and it hasn't just been on the campaign trail, although, as you know, the vitriol really did reach fever pitch on the campaign trail as reporters were trying to cover the Trump campaign. We also had in Paris, you may recall, Islamic extremists back in 2015 killed 12 people at the Charlie Hebdo newspaper in Paris. In Virginia, you may recall, a reporter and her photographer were gunned down live as they were on the air back in 2015 as well. Allison Parker and Adam Ward. That was not related to any sort of Islamic extremism, but rather it appears that it was an individual who was suffering some severe mental illness. But this has been a theme in which reporters often are in the line of fire, whether it's on a scene, a battlefield, or just simply in a newsroom doing their jobs or out on the field. We don't know the circumstances here, but the Capital Gazette reporting a shooting at their specific newsroom is of concern as well.
I want to give you, Tom, new news. Anne Arundel police have now tweeted. Anne Arundel is the county, by the way, in which Annapolis is. Anne Arundel tweet are confirming confirming active shooter at 888 Bestgate Road in Annapolis. Building evacuated. Officers continuing to search building. Relocation point is inside Lord and Taylor in the mall. This is the Annapolis Mall, by the way. So this is important for people to know. If you're in contact with anyone in the building or who's left the building, the relocation point is inside Lord and Taylor at the Annapolis Mall. This is a tweet by the Anne Arundel police. Interesting, Jim Kavanaugh, they are not saying, they're describing it as an active shooter situation. The police are not saying that the shooter has been subdued or captured or escaped or killed.
Right, and they may still be searching the premises for the shooter. You're seeing the outer perimeter crew there that are moving the people, evacuating the people. That's the effort by the commanders. You want to locate the shooter, isolate the shooter, evacuate the people. Once tactical officers can move through the perimeter, those behind them are safe, and they can push those people back to the patrol officers and push them back safely in a controlled manner. So we're seeing that back perimeter, but we're not seeing the point of the spear. We're not seeing the tactical officers who are inside the building doing the searching. And, Ali, just as last week, provocateurs on the web were calling to murder journalists domestically here. Journalists should be killed. So this stuff's out there all the time with no known motive here. But, the police are going to have to look across the board for, why someone would do this.
We're just gathering our team of people who are experts on this, sadly. They have had too much experience with it. Clint Van Zandt is now joining me. He's a former U.S. Army counterintelligence agent and has worked a great deal on figuring out the profiles of who these people are. And increasingly, Clint, this becomes something that we have to do in a big hurry. We've got to figure out, police sometimes have to figure out, if they haven't neutralized the shooter, who the shooter might be, where they might be, what the motivation might be. As Clint was saying a little bit earlier to me, you don't know. You don't know. Do you negotiate with somebody, or do you just eliminate the threat?
Well, these investigations have to move quickly, and unfortunately, this is number 195 definable mass shootings that we've had in the United States so far this year. I mean, it's no wonder, and this is a terrible comment, but it's no wonder police departments and federal agencies are so good at response, because they have real world practice almost every day. We had somewhere in the mid-20s of school shootings so far this year. So we've got so many individuals, and we go through the list of the whys. Is it mental health? Is it somebody who's angry, frustrated, rageful? There's always going to be a reason when we start to do the psychological autopsy. But in the meantime, police have got the shooter in custody, but as Jim was just saying, you've got to make sure he or she didn't bring any bombs, any other explosives to the area. Mm-hmm. You've got to, there's a race that takes place between law enforcement and the media many times, trying to get to the shooter's residence, get a picture of that. Law enforcement wants to get computers, phones, anything else. Who else knew about this? Who else may have participated? And again, this brings on the tyranny of the urgent that you're talking about, is that all of these things have to be done very quickly. Yep. And unfortunately, we're getting very good at doing that at the last minute.
This is a point that Clint Watts was just making, that it's a very different feel to what this would have looked like 10 years ago. But Clint, as you look at these pictures with me, you've got a dog, a sniffing dog on the left that's been walking around with its police handlers in the parking lot. You've got people on the right, this is earlier video, who are evacuated from the building by police with their hands in the air. Wow. This is important, because we saw at Parkland and in other shootings where a shooter can try and get out with the people evacuating.
Right, and what they're trying to do is...
And we've seen this in shooting situations and hostage situations for years. And, sometimes people who have been victims, they've been inside when it's taken place, they feel like they're being further traumatized by being treated like that. But the last thing you want is a line of 10, 20, 100 people coming out, and some guy pulls out a gun or a grenade right in the middle of the crowd. So they have to deal with them like this, but they're going to tell the people, we're doing this for your own good. They're going to match them up with loved ones, telephones. Everything else is going to be done far faster than it would have been 10 years ago. And unfortunately, number 195 that we've dealt with just this year.
No kidding. And by the way, we do have Clint Watts, who's with me in the studio. Clint, we've just heard that the president has been briefed on the Annapolis shooting, but this is not something that involves the president in that way. Both the federal response, the state response, and local response, it's become automated. We know these police know what to do.
Yeah, you know what was impressive there? You showed that tweet that was actually coming from the police department. This shows how much we've gained in terms of experience from the law enforcement response side about how to handle these situations. They're basically showing this is where the rally point is. We're communicating to the public. We're also communicating to the media. We know what your questions are going to be. If you look at how they're handling that response there, it's impressive how organized they are. And it also just makes us wonder, why do we have to consistently go through this?
Yeah, so our responses are really good. We haven't nailed the front end of this thing. Right. How do we stop this from happening? But I will say what we have learned, sadly, with you, Clint Van Zandt, with you, Jim Kavanaugh, when we report these things, is that police are good at communicating information to the media. They don't tend to hold back. But what happens is by the time we get these helicopter shots up here, we've already had the response. So as Jim Kavanaugh, you call it the tip of the spear, we don't see, but something else happened here. A call came in, and police responded very quickly. And this is telling, Jim Kavanaugh, because nowadays when somebody calls in and says there may be an active shooter, it's a very different flavor of response than it would have been 10 years ago.
Well, that's right. You know, whenever you respond to a call, a man with a gun, active shooter, anything like that, and I responded to those as a uniformed policeman, as a federal agent, you know, you just don't know what you're facing. You don't know what you're coming into. Patrol officers from Annapolis PD, Anne Arundel County Police will be the first people responding to this. If it's in the city of Annapolis, they'll be the first officers responding, not SWAT officers,
right?
Not state troopers,
so just to that
and not
point,
federal
just
agents.
look at that shot that we're looking
patrol.
at, Jim. Look at that shot we're looking at. What is that vehicle on the bottom right? There's two vehicles there that look like those black vehicles, the right side of the screen and the bottom right. Middle of the screen. Yeah,
those are Bearcats and Bear tactical vehicles. They're bulletproof vehicles. They're deployed by SWAT. They're basically, you know, will stop a fired round at them. They're ballistically safe. They can deploy tear gas from a hatch in the top. You know, they're all black. I mean, they're basically a defensive weapon for the officers and used as a rescue vehicle if they have to get in there and, you know, move wounded citizens or officers out. They carry their gear in there. They can carry, you know, 6 or 8 SWAT members in the back, a driver, a commander in the front. They can carry a team in quickly. They're just tremendous vehicles. These are vehicles that were not designed for the military specifically, but they were designed for the police, for this kind of an operation. And I think that's the kind of vehicles the police really need to have, because they're designed for the police operation. You see, they're not so large. They're not tracked vehicles.
Yeah.
They're not designed for war.
Yeah.
They're really police vehicles, and they're very good. Every community needs to have this equipment. But SWAT's there, and what this tells us, Ali, is that SWAT is inside the building.
Right.
When they got there, they went there and they were in. Patrol was in first. So patrol would have made the penetration on an active shooter first. The first 2 or 3 patrol officers would go in real fast, trying to locate the shooter. Unfortunately, the tactics are, if you have wounded, you have to move by the wounded. This is hard for police to do. But they have to do it. That's the training we all have for active shooter. Move past the wounded, get to the shooter to stop the instant killing, the killing that's occurring. You got to stop that.
All right.
And then SWAT's on their heels, and they're in there now.
Let me tell you what we know now. This is, by the way, next to these are pictures of the Anne Arundel Mall, the Annapolis Mall that you're looking at. This is adjacent to the building at the Capitol Gazette, and it is where police have tweeted the center should be where people should relocate after they've been evacuated from the building. As you can see there, we have a tweet from Governor Larry Hogan, the governor of Maryland. Absolutely devastated to learn of this tragedy in Annapolis. I'm in contact with County Executive Steve Shook, and Maryland State Police is on the scene assisting Anne Arundel Police Department. Please heed all warnings and stay away from the area, praying for those at the scene and for our community. That is from the governor of Maryland. The president, on his way back from Wisconsin, has been briefed on the issue. We understand. Anne Arundel communications officer confirms that there has been a shooting on the scene, and we just have new information from Tom Winter, who joins me now. I've heard you outside, Tom, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. What do you have?
Okay, so the latest information that we have is we have confirmed injuries at this time. According to Anne Arundel EMS, at 2:34 p.m., they received a call for an active shooter at 888 Bestgate Road in Annapolis, Maryland. The person I spoke to there, Captain Russell Davies with the Anne Arundel EMS, says that there are confirmed injuries as a result of this shooting. Preliminarily, and always we want to stress that the information, the numbers, the things that we discuss are always subject to change, because this is early on in a significant incident as far as response goes, that at this point there are no confirmed deaths. So at this point, no confirmed deaths. But again, this is early on, and of course, you know, people that suffer gunshot wounds, there can be complications from that. People can later suffer, later can succumb to their injuries in the hospital. So we at this point don't want to say that.
Right, and this is really important, because you're here with me a lot. Clint's with me, Clint Van Zandt, Jim Kavanaugh. It's never what we think it is in the beginning. Sadly, It's generally not better, but it's never what we think it is in the beginning. That is the limitation of what we have. But I want to ask you, Clint Watts, the thing that we think about when we hear of these attacks, we think immediately to motivation. Who might be doing it? Why might they be doing it? The fact that it is a newspaper does come into play in 2018 in the minds of those of us who do not know the details of what actually happened. Jim Kavanaugh said it. There are always attacks on the press, but it feels like there are more these days.
And it is a unique time in our country's history. I mean, we have open hatred towards the media, fake news. This is the era of it, and we hear lots of discussions of it. We had a figure just show up in the last 48 hours, I believe, that said they would be excited if vigilante squads would shoot down, reporters essentially on site. So this is a troubling thing here where we don't know if it's a personal motivation, what we tend to see with a workplace kind of shooting. Maybe it's a personal grudge, but it is a target, a place where we've seen increasingly come under verbal assault, and you have to wonder if this is actual physical assault based on that type of an outlet.
Phil Davis, a reporter for the Capital Gazette, has just tweeted, "A single shooter shot multiple people at my office, some of whom are dead." A single shooter shot multiple people at my office, some of whom are dead. This is Phil Davis. He's a Capital Gazette reporter. He said, more, I will tweet when I can. I will wait to be interviewed by police. Joining me now is Mike Friedrich. He lives nearby. He's at the scene. Mike, tell me where you are in relation to the scene and what you see.
So I'm right at the scene right now, and I can tell you this is something that this community has really never seen anything like this. If you know Annapolis at all, I'm on the back side of the mall away from the main way most folks come into town, and you just see an amazing police presence. You see, local, federal law enforcement all over the place here. They have a pretty good area blocked off at the moment for folks that they're not walking into the area. Basically, the mall, basically the Capital Gazette is practically across the street from the Annapolis Mall, which is basically a major epicenter where you see a lot of people, and it's just a huge presence of law enforcement right now in this area.
Let me ask you something. How far is where you are, the Annapolis Mall, the Capital Gazette, from what most of us would know, the historic center of Annapolis?
So it's about a 5 to 10 minute drive. It's about 2 to 3 miles. That if you were going to drive, like on the other side, the main road to get into the historic part of Annapolis is West Street. And if you would take that, it's about 5 minutes away from the state capitol and all the historic parts of the city.
And the police have tweeted to say that the gathering spot is at the Lord and Taylor. Is that an obvious place in the mall? How far is that from the building?
See, I'm not sure because, it's an obvious spot. The Lord and Taylor is actually closed.
Right.
So I'm on the other side.
Okay.
I'm standing near where the Nordstrom is located.
Got it.
And there's basically a bank of trees that you can see.
Yeah, we see that on the screen now.
That prevents me from seeing exactly what's going on as far as that staging area is concerned.
Okay, so you are on the side of the trees where the Capital Gazette building is.
I'm basically on the corner of where the Nordstrom is located at the moment.
Okay, thank you for that. Stand by. We're going to get a little more from you in just a second. I want to just bring you up to speed on what we know right now. There's been a shooting at the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland. As we just heard, it is a drive. It's not in central Annapolis. It's not at the historic center of Annapolis, but Annapolis is the capital of Maryland. It's where the State House is. The Capital Gazette is a newspaper that's owned by the Baltimore Sun nearby. We have had reports from the Capital Gazette and now tweets from a reporter inside confirming the shooting. We do not have all of the details on it, but we do know that ATF Baltimore special agents and task force officers are on the scene. This is a tweet that we just got from the ATF to assist our partners in the Anne Arundel Police Department. Anne Arundel County is the county in which Annapolis is in. They are the lead on this investigation. Anne Arundel County Police Department is the lead on this investigation. Please follow their accounts for all official updates. Prince George's County, which is a neighboring county, is sending resources now, an indication that this is something that we have to think about. And just minutes ago, Phil Davis, a Gazette reporter, tweeted this: "There is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload." Just minutes ago, NBC Local WRC spoke to Officer Mark Lemansky from the Anne Arundel Police. He says officers continue to work to clear the scene. Take a listen.
We had a very serious situation, reports of an active shooter at 888 Bestgate Road in Annapolis. The call came in at 2:34 this afternoon. Officers immediately responded and began searching the building. They are still searching the building at this time. They do not have any reports of injured individuals or victims at this time, nor can I confirm the apprehension of an individual as a suspect in this case. But officers are still currently working the scene. Of course, the area is very crowded right now with all of our equipment out about the area. The area is as safe as it can be at this time. We do have a collection point for members of that building who have been evacuated to Lord and Taylor. If family members want to meet them there at Lord and Taylor inside at Annapolis Mall. That's all we have right now. Officers are still continuing to work. This scene is evolving and very busy situation.
Officer Lemansky, have they gotten to the offices of the Capitol Gazette? Because we understood from the first reports that went out that that was sort of the epicenter of this, that they issued the first call that it was the shooter was in their offices. What can you tell us about that?
Unfortunately, I cannot confirm that it was the Capitol Gazette specifically. I do know that it was 888 Capitol, 888 Bestgate Road. Do not know who else shares that facility with the Gazette. But that organization is located inside that building, and right now officers are still currently actively working that scene.
Okay, that is an interview that the local NBC station had with a police officer. We've got confirmation. There was a shooting. There have been people shot. What we do not have are details. We don't know where the shooter is, whether the shooter is one of the victims, whether the shooter has been shot by police, whether he or she has been apprehended, whether there are multiple shooters. We just don't have that information. I will ask you this, Clint Watts. When the ATF tweets to say Anne Arundel County Police Department are the lead in the investigation, does that tell you anything?
I think they're just trying to make sure everybody knows what the chain of command is, so there's no confusion. And that is, I think, even a signal for the media nowadays in terms of how to respond. Right. That's a new technique, really. We're going to communicate to you, tell you who's in charge. And that helps prevent erroneous information really getting put out or false information being spread and creating panic. I think the other thing is we found when you watch how these reactions really occur now, the state and local officers are the best ones positioned to this. They're the best response force. They tend to know the buildings. So in a lot of cases, these police forces now have actually mapped out the buildings in their communities. They know how to respond to it in a very efficient way. They're going to be able to do those things. The federal response is not going to be able to do it as well. The investigation might switch over time once they've identified a shooter, once they've been possibly apprehended, or if it turns into more of a manhunt, that's when the federal resources tend to take over. But at this time, it looks like they've really put it in the hands of local law enforcement. They seem to be very well organized in this response.
All right, we do know that the president has been briefed on the issue. We know that we got a tweet from the governor of Maryland saying that Maryland State Police are also on the scene helping. So again, Jim Kavanaugh, we got the ATF responding, we got the FBI responding, we've got Maryland State Police, we've got Anne Arundel County, we got Prince George's County neighboring responding. This becomes very complicated. We saw this in Parkland as well, where there were neighboring counties and neighboring police forces that converged on the school, because once that call goes out on the radio of an active shooter, it's 2018. I am looking at a sheet that one of my producers printed out for me of shootings so far in 2018. It is hard to believe the list is this long, but that's the issue, right? Once you know there's a shooting, nobody takes any chances. Everybody heads to the scene.
Right, everybody heads there because you don't know how big it is. You don't know how it's going to roll out. Is it going to be one shooter in one building? And that's usually going to be dealt with by patrol and the local SWAT. Or is it going to be multiple shooters across the city? I mean, we don't know in these times, what's going to happen. We could be dealing with Mumbai, or we could be dealing with, a disgruntled employee. So law enforcement comes and responds. Like Clint said, operationally, the law enforcement commanders, the police chiefs, the sheriffs, the special agents in charge, they know, what their teams are going to do, and they know each other personally, and they know how to meld this all together. It's war fighting on their part, but it's like the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. They know how to do it. They know how to work together. And, it seems confusing when you're looking from the outside, but they know where to go, and they know how to stage, and they know what to do.
No, Clint Van Zandt, this is one thing we've gotten used to, unfortunately, with far too many of these that I've had to report on, is that the police seem to operate in an orderly fashion. Looking at that screen we're looking at, we can't tell what the situation is. We believe the police have tweeted, by the way, that the building is cleared, but we don't know what that means. We don't know whether they've got the suspect or suspects they're looking for, whether they've been neutralized. You can't tell because I guess that's how police act.
Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and you were talking about the list of shootings you looked at. If you're looking at the list I am, today is the 177th
Unbelievable
day for this year, but we've had 195 mass shootings. We have had more than one mass shooting a day. Last year, we had 427 mass shootings. So while it's very important for us to understand who did this, the motive behind it, you know, we're getting to the point we've seen just about every motive. We've seen just about every reason.
That's a good point.
But what we do know is that people follow these negative leads they kind of get. They see somebody else acting out like this. All of a sudden they have the aha phenomena. They know what they're going to do too. And it may be a day and it may be a year before they put this together, but they still act this out. And here we have law enforcement one more time picking up the pieces. SWAT is good, Bearcats are good, all of this heavy equipment is good, but it usually boils down to that uniformed officer. He or she is the first one through the door with somebody else. SWAT usually gets there, it's too late. These situations are normally over with in less than 5 minutes.
I mean, Jim, that's what you've told me. We sometimes have Darren Porcher here for these things, who was with the New York Police, New York NYPD. It's a different job for a patrol officer, that you think you might be entering a mass shooting, an active shooting incident with somebody who might have a big gun that's bigger than the one you're carrying.
That's right. You know, patrol officers are good at this stuff. They're fast. They're action people. They have a long gun in their trunk in most jurisdictions. We used to carry shotguns on the, locked in front of the dashboard of our vehicles or just behind us. And if we knew we were going into a shooting situation, we would grab that shotgun. I mean, I kept that shotgun like it was part of my arm going into those things, because these guys would come out. They'd have all kinds of weapons, even in days past. The motives are change, but the guy wants to kill people. And, you're engaged with them. They'll get their long rifles. They'll move in there fast. If the shooter is in there and he hears the patrol officers coming down the hall, he might have killed himself, or they might have killed him. And to end the killing. Now, that doesn't make it a good day, Alex.
No, it does not.
When you got, it doesn't make it a good day, but it may make it, stopping it as fast as we can, which I like what Clint said too, and it's just not fast enough. We can get there with patrol in a few minutes, but you know what? We got to have more changes in our whole society across the board.
You guys have both said that.
Unfortunately, we lost some good people today. We lost some good people.
All right, so let me just recap what we've got. We do have confirmation that there has been a shooting at the Capital Gazette in Annapolis, Maryland, just outside of the downtown area, next to the Annapolis Mall. We are still waiting for details on that. Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland has tweeted, "Devastating. My heart is with the Capital Gazette and the people of Annapolis right now. As information continues to come in, I remain as grateful as ever for our first responders. If you're in the area, please stay inside and stay safe." Chris Van Hollen, Senator from Maryland, has tweeted, "My heart is with the families, friends, and loved ones of the victims as we learn more about this terrible situation. We must unite to end the violence." I apologize to you for anything we got wrong over this hour. That we have done this too many times, and we know that we got something wrong. But unfortunately, what we didn't get wrong was there was another mass shooting in America today. That brings this hour to a close for me. Thank you to everyone who joined me. I'm going to hand over now to my friend, Nicole Wallace, on Deadline White House.
Hi, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in New York. We begin with breaking news in Annapolis, Maryland, where police have responded to a shooting at the office of the local newspaper there, the Capital Gazette, owned by the Baltimore Sun. The paper confirms there has been a shooting. Right now, it's unclear how many victims there are. Police say the building has been evacuated. NBC's Tom Winter is at the table with me now with some breaking news on this story. Tom, what do you know?
So, Nicole, we know at this time that there are multiple people injured, and we know from 3 law enforcement sources that preliminarily there are double-digit amount of people that have been injured as a result of this shooting that was called in at 2:34 p.m. today. The shooting happened at the office complex where this newspaper is. Law enforcement has not yet confirmed that the shooting happened inside the newspaper offices, but we know from some of the reporters at the papers that they say that the shooting happened inside their office. So we're going off of those reports for that information. At this time, and this is always preliminary information, this is always information that is subject to change. We don't have any reports of confirmed confirmed fatalities. There have been some reports that there have been some deaths as a result of the shooting. At this point, we don't have that confirmed. I just talked to the public spokesperson for the EMS just a few minutes ago, and he said at this point he hadn't had any confirmed fatalities reported to him. We know that the suspect is believed to be a white male and that suspect is in custody. As far as what weapon that suspect had, we don't have that information confirmed yet. A little bit of some conflicting reporting there, so we're going to stay away from that from now. And as far as any other information about the suspect's age or any sort of motive, I think it's far too early for us to talk about that at this point. But I think the big headline in here is that there are a number of injuries as a result of this shooting that's been reported at the newspaper complex.
I want to bring in Tom Costello, who's been following this shooting today since minutes after it happened. Tom, can you add your body of reporting from when this first occurred?
We've been closely monitoring the Capital Gazette because this is, of course, the site of a local newsroom owned by the Baltimore Sun. And some of the reporting came from somebody inside the Capital Gazette. Phil Davis, a reporter who says most recently tweeted out the following: gunmen shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more, and I don't want to declare anybody dead, but it's bad. Then said, quote, there is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you are under your desk and then hearing the gunman reload. From our NBC station in Washington, D.C., WRC, they are now reporting from Baltimore Shock Trauma Hospital that they are treating at least one individual at shock trauma in Baltimore. That is the main shock trauma is the main trauma center for the state of Maryland, with the state trooper medevac helicopters flying there whenever they have a patient across Maryland. This is about, I'm told, 15 minutes or so from the state capitol, to give you a sense of Annapolis. Annapolis, of course, one of America's oldest and most historic capitals. We can tell you that it is right across the street from the mall, from the Annapolis Mall, and they have been telling individuals once they wanted to reunite with family or friends to go to the Annapolis Mall to do that. But this has all been playing out over the course of the past hour and a half with varying reports of injuries and fatalities, and we simply don't have a firm number on either one right now. But it does appear that something tragic has gone down at the Capital Gazette newspaper there in Annapolis.
It sure does. Tom Winter, you've got something new.
Yeah, so Nicole, two things. One, a senior New York City law enforcement official with direct knowledge of the matter says that the NYPD, out of an abundance of caution, is sending units to major news outlets in New York City. Just,
wow.
You know, obviously we have a shooting in a newspaper. We have a charged environment in our country. And so I think the NYPD, just out of an abundance of caution, all major news networks are located. I mean, we're right across the street from Fox News, vice versa. We're not too far from ABC and CBS, so the NYPD is doing that at this point. Getting a little bit more information about the suspect. We're being told that the person is a white male, as I suggested before, that person is in custody, and now I have multiple senior law enforcement people saying that they believe at this point in the investigation the weapon used was a shotgun. So at this point we're getting a little bit of some details as far as the weapon that was used. We have a suspect that's in custody at this point, and I think Tom has laid out as far as perfectly exactly what we're dealing with respect to injuries. So that's the information that we have so far. It's preliminary. It's obviously a very, an investigation is just getting started. So we're going to continue to listen to see what we hear.
But quite remarkable that, I mean, that's usually the practice when there's a terror attack, that you then harden the similar targets in different cities. So interesting that New York City is hardening the protection around news organizations here.
The NYPD has a history of whenever there's been any sort of threat. I think when, in no way do I want to suggest that this has any sort of relationship to terrorism, but...
No, I meant the practice of hardening potential targets.
But the NYPD, exactly to your point, Nicole, whenever they've seen incidents in the past, whether it be social media, whether it be an incident that's occurred somewhere else in the country, if it has involved media organizations, the NYPD, which trains a tremendous amount for active shooter situations, does make it a point to say, you know what, we've got some extra officers, we got 40,000 people strong, let's put a couple outside of some media organizations, let's harden it up, to your point, and let's be there to let people know, you know, don't think about doing something else here in New York City. So it's very much an NYPD tactic.
Yeah.
Exactly correct.
All right, we were listening to the WRC reporters, our first real interview with a police spokesman. We do know also Governor Larry Hogan has said on Twitter that absolutely devastated to learn of this tragedy in Annapolis.
And Governor Hogan was talking about the response also with the Maryland State Police also assisting the Anne Arundel County Police Department. And we also reported that the ATF is also on the scene and multiple agencies sending report to that scene to help out Anne Arundel County Police.
And while that individual was saying that he was using the generic address of 888 Bestgate Road and not narrowing in on the Capital Gazette, we do know through reporting from the Baltimore Sun, which owns the Capital Gazette, that there are reporters inside are confirming that it did happen there. Let's go to the newsroom where Lisa Robinson has some more reaction for us. Lisa?
Yeah, hi guys. We're hearing tonight right now from the Anne Arundel County Executive and Steve Shue, and here's what he has been saying. He tweeted out, Anne Arundel County Police Department is on the scene and it's being assisted by the Maryland State Police. I encourage everyone to stay away from the area and heed the advice of our public safety officials. This is devastating. Also, we heard from Senator Ben Cardin. He's tweeting out, my heart is with the Capital Gazette and the people of Annapolis right now as information continues to come in. I remain as grateful as ever for our first responders. If you're in the area, please stay inside and stay safe. And I might add, when in that interview with the police, we just heard that the area was contained. I believe that's what he was telling everyone, that they've got that particular area contained and it's not necessary for everyone to be huddled and sheltering in place. We also have some information about that 888 Bestgate property, the layout that the police are dealing with. It's a 4-story, 129,000 square foot Class A office building that's located at the intersection of Bestgate and Commerce Park Drive in the Annapolis Commerce Park. And that 4-story building is located within 4 miles of Route 50 and under 3 miles from I-97. That is from that property's website, the company that manages that property's website, just giving you some insight into how big of a building that police have to deal with when they're going in and they're going floor to floor and area to area. Back to you guys.
Well, Lisa, thank you very much for giving us some information about the property and giving us some reaction from some of our leaders, such as Senator Ben Cardin and Steve Shue, the executive in Anne Arundel County.
Let's send it back out to Kim Dacey, who is live on the scene for us. Kim, what do you have?
Yeah, we're along Bestgate Road, just maybe a block or so from where this happened at 888 Bestgate Road. You can see a ton of police cars and rescue vehicles from as far away as Prince George's County are up there. I took a walk up to get a little closer to see what's going on up there, and they have crime scene tape wrapped around the whole building, and of course police officers outside that building not letting us get any closer than that to the area where this actually happened. But as you go further down Bestgate Road, there is more and more and more police officers and first responders down there, obviously folks who are responding to this. Again, we've heard reports that there are multiple casualties here. We haven't confirmed anything as far as the number, but we do know that there was a shooting there at the 888 building here on Bestgate Road in Annapolis. Now, we spoke to a gentleman whose wife is in, he's not sure if it's that building or a nearby building, but his wife had a medical procedure today and she's being forced to shelter in place, and he's trying to get to her. He doesn't know when she'll be released. He was being assisted by a sheriff's deputy who was on the phone with someone at the medical center trying to find out when he might be able to get in and get her. Now, he knows she is okay. They've told him that she's safe and sound and the patients in there are safe and sound, but again, he's not sure exactly when he'll be able to get to her to pick her up, and he's concerned, of course, that she's scared. She might not know exactly what's happening, not sure what they've been told inside, but of course they're on lockdown and being told to shelter in places. Roy's been showing some folks being let out, but of course that's being done in a gradual manner, just a controlled manner, as police still work to secure this scene. So that's the latest here from Bestgate Road in Annapolis, and of course we will keep you updated on air online. We will bring you the very latest as we get new information here. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
Kim, thank you very much. And now let's go back to Captain Roy Taylor up in the air.
It is one suspect, but again, that's one of the...
Hey, I'm sorry, we were monitoring the scanner traffic here at the location. We can tell you, from what we understand, there's going to be several more canine units responding here to assist with the search of the facility for any type of suspicious package. We can also tell you that the Anne Arundel County law enforcement have actually released the channel. In other words, when they have a major incident going on, they block all channel. Okay, we'll send it back to you at the station. We understand you got something.
Yeah, Roy, thank you very much. We have to actually go back to the police.
I can't confirm exactly how many injuries. I do know that we do have injuries. That was first called in. So again, we don't anticipate this being some type of a mass major casualty with hundreds of injuries. But we do have injuries. And so we're doing our very best to make sure that those people receive care that need care. And, we're doing our very best to make sure everybody else is evacuated out of there. So right now we're prioritizing. Yeah, I can't confirm an exact location inside that building, but I can tell you it was inside 888 Bestgate Road, which does house several different types of businesses. So I hope to have more information on that very soon. Again, I just want to make sure that all the information that we pass along is accurate since it involves such a serious incident. So we want to make sure that that information is accurate, that gets out there to the public. So.
Thank you, everybody. Lieutenant Frazier released everything that he can right now. We'll give you an update as soon as we can.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Spell your name. Yeah, it's Frashure. Yeah, it's a little different. Right.
We obviously missed the beginning of that statement from Lieutenant Frazier there in Anne Arundel County. We picked it up with him saying, I believe he said this is not a mass major casualty with hundreds of injuries, he said. So we still are in the process of clarifying the number of injuries. There have been reports of 6 people shot, but in terms of, from our perspective, getting that from police confirmed, unless he was talking about that prior to us going into that particular part of the interview, I'm not sure we have that clarified and confirmed just yet.
We don't have that clarified right now, but we do understand that Lieutenant Frazier did say that the primary concern right now is to get people safely out of the building right now, and then after this part of the investigation is over, we'll get to confirming the number of injuries and the extent of the injuries. So we're covering this story from all angles right now. Right now, let's go back to Captain Roy Taylor in the air.
Yeah, from what we heard when we were coming down here, between the fire department communication, we only heard a total of 6 people involved, that the recipients as far as being shot at the location here. We haven't heard of it being a, quote, mass or huge event, although to me, 6 people is extremely significant. One person's significant, but 6 is extremely significant. The TAC teams we've been watching taking equipment inside the facility here, they're now gotten to the point where they're checking the ceilings, going up and above the ceiling tiles to check for anybody that may be hiding or lurking up in there. They believe they have the individual that's responsible, but they just want to make sure that they don't have a second individual that may have been a partner involved in this. I haven't been able to detect the suspect's car, if it was parked here on the lot yet. I haven't seen any law enforcement hanging around that. But they do have the bomb squads. They do have assistance from multiple agencies. At least 200 law enforcement personnel are here, and we're still trying to get more information as we do. We'll update you reporting live in Sky Team 11. I'm Captain Roy Taylor.
All right, Captain Roy, thank you. We've also been sharing information from a reporter at the Capital Gazette, Phil Davis, who has been tweeting extraordinary images of what took place here in his office. He again confirming that it did take place at the Capital Gazette, saying gunmen shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Let's go back out to Kim Dacey, who again, just take a quick look at that tweet, where he is reporting on what is taking place there.
What he saw and heard. And right now, let's talk to Kim Dacey, standing by with an interview. Kim, who do you have right there?
Yeah, I'm here with Camlyn, and she was just in the area trying to run some errands at the bank that's right across the street from where we are. So tell us what happened.
Well, I thought it was just an accident, and then I saw all these police cars coming, and then the helicopters, and then they were redirecting traffic, and so I was lucky to park a block away and get over to the bank. And yeah, it's like I was wondering what happened, and everybody's telling me there's a shooter and to be careful walking. You don't expect that.
Tell me what it's like inside the bank. You said they're not on lockdown.
No, they're not. but nobody can get there to go to the bank unless they walk like I did.
So what are the workers doing in there?
Some of them are washing windows so that they can look out and keep an eye on what's going on outside. And others are sitting there twiddling their thumbs or doing whatever business they have to do. But, and everybody's like worried. One lady's walking around giving candy to everybody. Calm them down.
What do you think about all this? I mean, you were just trying to get to the bank today.
I know. It's bizarre. I find this country very bizarre right now with all these shootings. It's really, and as I mentioned to you, I live on the other side of the world, so it's a bit, I didn't expect to come here and walk into something like this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sorry that this is the impression it's left on you, but what do you feel for the folks who may be inside the building, the victims?
Well, that's what I don't understand. I don't know how many people are inside the building, and I don't know that information because you're the first. That's why I ask, what was going on, because I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of information confirmed at this point, but so now you're on your way.
I am. I'm headed out of Annapolis. I think.
Okay.
It's wiser.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you're safe, and get back to your car safely, please, for us.
Thank you.
And again, so this is just another look at how this is affecting folks all over Annapolis, really from all over the world, I guess, as they're here in Annapolis, as with the road being shut down and all of the police activity. So again, we will keep you posted and let you know if anything else changes here from the scene. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
Kim, thank you very much. Giving us some flavor of the neighborhood, what people are being impacted by as they travel through the Westgate Road area.
We were just talking about it, and I'm on Twitter right now following Phil Davis, who is a reporter with the Capital Gazette, who has been providing an extraordinary vantage point here of this awful, awful day. He was tweeting, "A gunman shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it's bad."
Yeah, and here's another one that we're going to put up. There is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload. This is Phil Davis, a crime reporter at the Capital Gazette newspaper, where, of course, this incident took place this afternoon.
And he has said, his latest tweet, that he is okay and he is being interviewed by police about what happened. So we do know that he will be continuing to provide us just this extraordinary view of what has happened all around him, and to his colleagues and to his dear friends.
In one of the tweets, he said many of the people who were injured were employees of the Capital Gazette newspaper. As we look at these live pictures of the massive police response to this area, and Anne Arundel County Police, they're the lead agency on this, as we understand. We understand that the Maryland State Police is assisting, as well as the ATF, and Roy was saying that agents from as far away as Prince George's County have responded to the scene to help contain the building, evacuate the building, make sure that everyone is safe. Ryan Frazier with the Anne Arundel County Police Department didn't seem to want to nail down how many people were injured in that news conference, saying that the primary concern right now was to make sure that everyone was safely evacuated from 888 Bestgate Road.
And we still haven't heard very much, and circling there exactly where that is, in that area near Commerce Park Drive in Annapolis, which is not far from the Annapolis Mall. We also have Mark Lemansky as well, so let's take a listen to what Mark Lemansky had to say a short time ago.
Well, we are in a very serious situation here in Annapolis. It's 888 Bestgate Road. We received a report at 2:34 this afternoon of an active shooter situation, reports of multiple gunshots fired, possible injuries within the building. Our officers immediately responded along with our allied agencies. We're taking all the support we can from our neighboring police agencies and federal agencies in this. We're currently searching the building, looking for injured persons and the suspect. Unfortunately, right now I cannot confirm that we have the suspect in custody, nor can I confirm the number of alleged fatalities at this time.
Okay, thank you. So, of course,
Mark Lemansky with the Anne Arundel County Police Department talking about multiple agencies involved in the response. We understand that the Baltimore Police Department had a connection to this scene. Our lead I-Team reporter, Jane Miller, has some insight into that. Jane.
Yeah, Andre, I'm actually covering another situation which involves a shooting by police completely unrelated to what's going on in Annapolis. We're down by University Hospital downtown, and T.J. Smith, the communications officer for the Baltimore Police Department, has said that that the Baltimore police got a call for an active shooter at the Baltimore Sun building in Baltimore, and I'm not clear if that's the old building on Calvert Street or the new where they just moved to in Port Covington. I'm not sure where that is, but they got a call for an active shooter. Tactical units went, checked it out, thoroughly went through the building, found nothing, no incident there, but obviously that came in very short time after the report of the shooting in Annapolis. So that was then handled by the Baltimore Police Department. Its relevance to what has happened in Annapolis, unknown at this point, but certainly appears to be more. It appears to be something more than a coincidence.
All right, Jane, thank you for that information. We just learned that there's going to be a press conference. This would be the first press conference about this shooting. There'll be a press conference in about 15 minutes, and of course we will bring that to you live. I understand Kim Dacey has some additional information for us. Kim, what do you have?
Yeah, guys, we're live here just down the street from the scene in the 800 block of Bestgate Road here in Annapolis. Bestgate Road does remain shut down, and you can see in the distance a lot of police cars just covering the area down there. I walked down there a little earlier, and it was just, as far as the eye could see, sirens and lights and first responders. They have police caution tape around the whole building and police officers guarding that to make sure no one gets in or out that they don't know about. So this is a very active and ongoing scene, of course, here at this time. And we did talk to some folks who were in the area. One woman trying to go to the bank that's right across the street from where we are. It's not on lockdown, but no one can get there. She had to park a couple of blocks away and walk in, and she said the workers in there are just kind of looking out the window to see what's going on because they're not on official lockdown. But again, there's not really anyone who can get in to see, go to the bank for them to help. So one other guy is waiting for his wife, who was just at a medical procedure today in one of the buildings. Not sure if it's the actual building where the shooting took place, but one of the buildings down there that was on lockdown. And he was almost frantic on the phone with the sheriff's deputy trying to figure out exactly where his wife is and when he can get to her. They said his wife is safe and sound, but they're not sure when she's going to be released and when he'll be able to go to her. So he, of course, is concerned about her and what she's doing. So this is affecting people in the whole area. Certainly, of course, the people in the building where the shooting happened, but also affecting people in the surrounding area who really had no idea anything was going on, or maybe came down here right when it was happening, or the gentleman who's picking up his wife, just trying to get to his wife to pick her up after a medical procedure and runs into the roadblock. So we're asking you to avoid this area, of course, Bestgate Road, because you can't get through in either direction, but definitely affecting a lot of people in this area beyond the scope of the building where it happened. And of course, we will keep you posted and let you know if anything new develops. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you for that update.
She was talking about the medical campus and a number of buildings on lockdown right now. We actually have the Anne Arundel Medical Center Twitter feed up right now. Our Annapolis campus is currently on lockdown due to a shooting incident in the 800 block of Bestgate Road. We are not allowing visitors to the hospital at this time. We ask all employees, visitors, patients, and volunteers to stay in our buildings. Thank you for your cooperation.
All right, well, that's the latest information there. And again, we are awaiting a press conference in about 10 to 15 minutes, which would be the first press conference, getting a better sense of exactly what happened there and some of these details, fleshing out some of these details. We know there have been reports that a suspect is in custody, but we do not have some official confirmation from the police about that. In terms of the numbers, the individuals who have been wounded, we are waiting to get some official word on that as well.
But we do have the live tweets of Phil Davis, the Capital Gazette newspaper reporter who witnessed and heard and confirmed through his Twitter feed that multiple people were shot at his office space today. So we just need to confirm how many people were injured and the extent of their injuries, and hopefully we'll glean some of that information from this upcoming news conference that's coming up in probably 10 minutes from now.
And Phil Davis says he is safe now and outside the building, and indicated he was talking to law enforcement about what happened around him.
And we have this covered from all angles, lots of angles, so we understand that. We want to check in with Karen Campbell right now. Karen, where are you? What are you seeing? What do you know?
Well, I just caught the tail end of a press conference given by Annapolis Police Lieutenant Ryan Frazier. Now, he did not have much to say, but what he did say is that, he confirmed that a shooting did happen inside of the building, but he said, there are some injuries, but those injuries, he cannot confirm what kind of injuries they are. Now, he did say that, police do not expect large casualties. He said the building was not secure. There were, several offices, he said, that have been evacuated. And, I was on the scene earlier, I'd say maybe 30 minutes ago, where there were about 30 to 40 employees of Kaiser. Kaiser was housed inside that building as well as other offices. And Lieutenant Frazier said, again, he wants everyone to avoid this area. And he's asking family and friends, if you know anyone inside that building and you want to meet up with them, he's asking them for them to go to Lord and Taylor, to meet inside the Lord and Taylor. Also, I asked him, can you confirm what floor this potential shooting happened? And he said he cannot confirm that. He cannot confirm if a suspect or suspects were in custody. Again, he said, he confirmed that a shooting did happen inside, and he does not expect large casualties.
I'm sorry, Karen. I missed the tail end of what you were saying there. I just want to share with you, Karen, that the Associated Press is reporting that one shooter is now in custody. So I want to ask you, and I apologize, but I was listening to some other things as you were speaking, so was not ignoring you, but I had to focus on something else at the time. Can you just clarify again where people can reunite? Because anybody that is watching this now just needs to know, A, where to go to see family members, and I'm sure there are a lot of roads closed, or how they can get there.
Yes, so according to mall management and also according to Lieutenant Ryan Frazier with the Annapolis Police Department, they are encouraging family and friends to go towards the Lord and Taylor, which is, according to mall management, that is on the west side of the mall. So if you were to, attempt to exit off of 97, and, understand that there is a lot of traffic. There's a lot of police activity around the mall area. So just understand it's going to take a while to even get in toward the Lord and Taylor. But that is the location where police officers and mall management are directing family and friends to go to meet up with loved ones, again, at the Lord and Taylor at Annapolis Mall.
All right, Karen, thank you for that update.
And speaking of an update, we have some new information coming in to us from NBC News reporting that the NYPD is sending units to multiple news organizations in New York City out of precaution. Don't know why yet and don't know the connection, but obviously for some reason NBC News reporting that the NYPD in New York, the New York Police Department, sending units to multiple news organizations. So that's also part of this story, and that will be developing a little later.
We want to go to the newsroom where Lisa Robinson is tracking reaction from officials in the area. Lisa?
Yeah, we have a reaction coming in from all kinds of public officials, but this is a big day here in Maryland. This is plebe day in that particular area in Annapolis. So all eyes were on that area of Maryland in Annapolis because it was a big day, and you had families coming together and at the Naval Academy, bringing their children from all over on this big day. So, there were a lot of people looking at that particular area of our state today. We are hearing from many of the officials in the state, from County Executive Steve Shue. He said that the Anne Arundel County Police Department is on the scene and is being assisted by the Maryland State Police. I encourage everyone to stay away from the area and heed the advice of our public safety officials. This is devastating. And from Governor Larry Hogan, absolutely devastated to learn of this tragedy in Annapolis. I am in contact with County Executive Steve Shue, and Maryland State Police is on the scene assisting Anne Arundel County Police Department. Please heed all warnings and stay away from the area, praying for those at the scene and for our community. We are also hearing CNN's Jim Acosta is tweeting out that Trump has been briefed on the mass shooting in Annapolis. The White House says via poll, our thoughts and prayers are with all that are affected, a White House spokeswoman says. And from Senator Ben Cardin, Devastating. My heart is with the Capital Gazette and the people of Annapolis right now. As information continues to come in, I remain as grateful as ever for our first responders. If you're in the area, please stay inside and stay safe. And also, we're hearing from Senator Chris Van Hollen, who tweeted, "My heart is with the families, friends, and loved ones of the victims as we learn more about this terrible situation. We must unite to end violence." And from Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger, sickened over the shooting at the Capital Gazette News. They are a dedicated group of journalists who perform an invaluable community service. Prayers continuing that everyone will walk away from this horrific tragedy. Please join me. And also from Representative John Sarbanes, I am deeply saddened by reports of a shooting at the Capital Gazette News. My thoughts are with the paper's staff and their families at this difficult time. I will continue to monitor the situation and work with local, state, and federal law enforcement as we assess these developments. And we are also hearing from Ben Jealous, who is running for governor, the Democratic nominee here in the state. Deeply saddened about these unfolding events in Annapolis. Everyone, please stay safe as the police assess the situation. And just to reiterate what Karen Campbell said and what we're hearing, if you have loved ones who are in that area, who may have been in that building or in areas outside that building, once they are evacuated from the building, taken to that holding area where they are debriefed by the police, offered medical assistance if that's what they need, then they will make their way over to the Lord and Taylor building over at the Annapolis Mall, and that is where the reunification will take place. Back to you guys in the studio.
Okay, that's an appropriate time because we are looking at live pictures of Governor Larry Hogan being briefed by officers on the scene right now. Live pictures of the governor of Maryland on the scene responding to this shooting at 888 Bestgate Road. Multiple people shot, still awaiting a news conference to learn how many people have been injured.
Yeah, I was also taking a look at Twitter. David Folkenflik, who used to work at the Baltimore Sun, he's a media critic, and David posted chilling news of attack on Annapolis Gazette. I competed against those guys while at the Baltimore Sun and have known those who work there. And he says, aghast and hoping against all hope that they emerge safely. Also, former Governor Martin O'Malley tweeted as well that awful news coming out of Annapolis. He says another mass shooting in America, this one at a local newspaper office, praying for the individuals there.
And you speak of the former governor, Martin O'Malley, tweeting about this incident. The current governor tweeted earlier, and now he is on the scene. Governor Larry Hogan underneath that sign of Bestgate Road, surrounded by officers and other officials on the ground there at this shooting at a newspaper.
And a shooting essentially in the governor's backyard.
In his backyard.
In Annapolis, as Lisa was indicating, a really joyous time in Annapolis with Induction Day as the Naval Academy undergoes that annual tradition that I'm sure many reporters were out covering and
of course
possibly working on deadline to file that particular story.
It's supposed to be a happy day in Annapolis, Maryland.
Absolutely, and let's also share what NBC News was reporting, that the New York Police Department had indicated that security was being dispatched to a number of newsrooms across the country. And earlier in the day, our I-Team lead investigative reporter Jane Miller was reporting that there were reports of an incident, a potential incident at the Baltimore Sun in Baltimore, and she wasn't sure if it was at their new building or if at their old iconic location. But that turned out to not be anything. But there does seem to be a bit of a trail taking place, at least in our area, when it comes to at least two newsrooms. Two newsrooms affected by this.
And as you mentioned, NBC News reporting that the NYPD now sending units to multiple news organizations as a precaution at this time. Not sure what kind of intelligence they have or what kind of chatter they're hearing, but for some reason the NYPD sending units to multiple news organizations. And
I know we are trying to get to Karen Campbell shortly, and when we have her on the phone, we will get to her. We also are awaiting the first press conference from the Annapolis Police Department or Anne Arundel County authorities, who are the lead agency on this particular incident that appears to have taken place at the Capital Gazette newspaper, a newspaper that is owned by the Baltimore Sun. on the Bestgate Road area, 888 Bestgate Road, in this particular office building that houses the Capital Gazette and a number of other businesses as well.
Speaking of businesses, this is close to the Annapolis Mall, and we should also stress that for people looking to respond to their loved ones, their family members, co-workers, what have you, the reunification area is Lord and Taylor at the Annapolis Mall. So if people just don't know what to do, don't have any information, they can respond to the Lord and Taylor at the Annapolis Mall to get the information they need and hopefully see their loved ones that they're wondering about right now.
And one would presume that if in fact this shooter is in custody, as we're reporting, the Annapolis spokesman saying there is a shooter in custody, the police are speaking to that individual right now and perhaps gathering information that they will ultimately pass on in this press conference that we're awaiting.
And speaking of that person reportedly in custody, the Associated Press tweeting out, breaking, city spokeswoman, one shooter in custody after shooting at building housing Maryland newspaper, which we of course know is the Capital Gazette. So
there have been some reports, again unconfirmed, but reports that this was a shooter in his 20s, a male shooter in his 20s, but again we will be waiting for official confirmation on some sense of identity or identifiable characteristics of the individual. Karen Campbell is on the phone for us from the area. Karen?
Yeah, so about 15, 20 seconds ago, there were about 15 or 20 members of state troopers that are all dressed in fatigue, carrying their long guns, and they are walking 2 on 2, heading across the street now, attempting to go inside 888 Bestgate Road. Now, I spoke with Lieutenant Frazier. He gave a brief press conference a short time ago. And, he, again, confirmed a shooting happened inside, but he would not give any more details. He said he was going to come back, within another 10 or 15 minutes to give us another update. He did say the building was not secure, and he reiterated to anyone watching or listening that, if you have loved ones that are inside that building, they have been evacuated, but he's encouraging people to meet those loved ones.
Karen, sorry, we have to interrupt you right now because Lieutenant Ryan Frazier of the Anne Arundel County Police Department is giving a news conference.
Investigation, a very detailed investigation by our detectives. So I'd like to introduce first our county executive, Anne Arundel County Executive, Stephen R. Shue, to answer some questions, give you guys some updates. But again, we're going to limit questions at this time just for investigative purposes because we still have a lot of work to do. Thank you. Mr. Shue.
Thank you, Officer. I'm County Executive Steve Shue of Anne Arundel County. We've had a terrible shooting incident here this afternoon. There are several people who have died from this incident, and several others are injured. Those who are injured have been transported for medical care to Anne Arundel Medical Center and to Johns Hopkins Shock Trauma. Those fatalities are so sad. I don't know what to say other than our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families, and we take comfort knowing that they are in God's embrace. The shooter is in custody and being interrogated at this time. I want to commend the public safety professionals who were very quick to the scene here within about 60 seconds. And we've had a tremendous response, not only from Anne Arundel County Police and Fire, Annapolis City Police and Fire, but also State Police, Howard County, Prince George's, several federal agencies, including FBI and ATF. I want to thank all of those agencies for their quick response and being our partners in this very unfortunate incident. I'd like to ask Governor Hogan to say a few words. Governor?
I just want to say, first of all, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families, and I want to thank the law enforcement professionals who responded. Our emergency response team they did an incredible job. They're still doing the job right now, but the fact that they responded within 60 seconds, I want to give serious praise to Anne Arundel County and the city of Annapolis for their response. And we were here with the state agencies to back them up. We have federal agencies. It's a tragic situation. We don't have all the information yet, and we can't give all the information yet because it's an active crime scene and investigation. But we have had several fatalities and several people there in the hospital, and we'll just leave it to the professionals to continue their ongoing investigation.
Lieutenant, I know you said it's early, but can you talk to us about the number of fatalities in any ways?
Is it more than 2 or under? Can you tell us at least any kind of numbers that you know of now?
I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce our acting chief, Bill Cramp. He'll answer some questions, but again, please, it'll be very brief. You know, we want to make sure that the information we put out is accurate. So, you know, there's a lot of people involved here, so we want to make sure that information is accurate, and we don't want to say anything that'll ruin the investigation. So the suspect is still being interviewed by detectives, but again, I'll introduce our acting chief, William Cramp.
Good afternoon. As you can see, this is a very fluid scene. You can see that we have over 10 plus allied agencies assisting with Anne Arundel County Police. The investigation has just started. So as Ryan has said, we're going to be quite a while determining what occurred, why it occurred, and how it occurred. But as the governor mentioned, we were here quickly. We came into the building very quickly. We received a call as an active shooter. We do have fatalities and we do have serious injuries. We also have many witnesses that are being interviewed, and we have an area over by Lord and Taylor that the witnesses can reunite with their families. We're asking them to contact their families so that they can come and assist them with getting home safely. As Ryan mentioned before, our Criminal Investigation Division has one person in custody. That person is at our Criminal Investigation Division down in Crownsville, and we will be speaking with that individual quite frequently, and well, shortly, I should say, and get the information. The building is secure from a tactical standpoint. That means that right now we believe that there are no other shooters in the building, but it has not been cleared from an investigative standpoint. So once the QRT and the members of a SWAT team leave the building, the investigators will go in, and then we will start the process of putting the investigation together.
Chief, do you think, Chief?
To police or to the Capitol Gazette employees? Yeah, right now we can't confirm exactly where the shooting occurred throughout that building. The Capitol Gazette building is inside that building, along with many other.
Do you have any numbers on casualties? Do you have any numbers on casualties?
Not at this point. Not at this time.
Chief, are you guys are you?
Our officers were on the scene very, very quickly. I think it was around 60 seconds or a minute and a half. And they did engage the suspect, and that's when he was taken into custody. So it occurred very quickly. Just 1 second. That was, again, just for everybody, that was our acting chief, William Cramp, K-R-A-M-P-H. And I'd like to introduce the mayor of Annapolis City, the city of Annapolis, Mayor Gavin Buckley.
How you doing? The city sends its love and thoughts for all the families that have been affected by this horrible event. I want to commend our first responders for getting onto the scene as quickly as they did, and if they were not there as quickly as they did, it could have been a lot worse. So I just have to say it was a great joint effort by everybody. This is what we trained for. A week ago we practiced an active shooter training thing. We did not expect something like this to happen in our community, but we were ready, and I don't think we could have put any more resources. If you look behind you at what's been done here, it's a tremendous response.
How many people have been killed?
We can't confirm that yet, so I have to sort of leave that with the county on there, so I'll hand it back to you.
I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't hear the question.
We're just concerned. Is it you can't give us a number how many people are killed or injured because you don't know, or what's going on?
No, at this point, while we're still, reuniting people with families, and we're interviewing this suspect, we don't want to put that information out right now.
Lieutenant, are you confident this person acted alone? There will only have the one suspect. You're not looking for anyone else?
Yeah, at this point, he's the only suspect. We have one suspect, and I'd like to introduce our state's attorney, the Anne Arundel County State's Attorney, Mr. Wes Adams.
Good afternoon, everybody. My office is on scene to assist with the fantastic response by our law enforcement officials. As everybody knows, this is an active investigation. We will work in conjunction with the detectives and the police officers who are handling the scene to ensure that we have everything collected correctly, so that we can then sift through and process the evidence as necessary. Unfortunately, that's the only comment that my office can make at this time, but we are on scene assisting with all other law enforcement agencies.
Wes, do you guys have any type of motive right now?
The investigation is still active and ongoing, so my office in particular, prosecutors cannot comment in any way on the nature of the evidence.
What type of weapon was used?
that back over to Lieutenant Frazier.
Lieutenant, yeah, what type of weapon was used?
Yeah, at this point, we can't identify the exact weapon that was used. We anticipate having another briefing very shortly to try to get that information out. So at this point, with it being a very active investigation, we need to reconnect with our detectives that are interviewing the suspect, make sure that we have that accurate information that we can give out to everybody. So we anticipate another update here very shortly. So at this point, we're still talking to the individual, we're engaging the individual, and we're trying to find out a motive, all those things that comes along with these investigations. So it takes a long time.
Can you confirm that he used a shotgun?
In the building? Governor Hogan, not so very long ago, we gathered similar in Maryland. It's happened again, a shooting like this. What are your thoughts? What's in your heart this afternoon as the leader of our state to be dealing with?
Well, the first thing, your heart goes out to all the people that lost their lives and all of their families and all the other people that are affected here. It's just a tragic situation. They're two entirely different situations, but in both cases, in Southern Maryland, we had a school resource officer that acted immediately and saved lives, and here in 60 seconds, we had the police respond. So while both situations are tragic, our response to it has been incredible, and I want to praise the local officials who responded so well and perhaps saved other people's lives by getting there while the thing was taking place and apprehending the suspect, and he's in custody. And I know it's frustrating because it's not that they don't have information, they just can't share the information. I think we know about the number of fatalities, they know the weapon, but this thing is still actively going on, and it can hinder the investigation by releasing information too soon. So I believe that when they have the next briefing, hopefully they'll be able to provide you with more information.
Do police have the name of the suspect? Are you aware of the elections?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with it.
Was the shooter injured?
Yeah. I don't have that information, and I don't have that information, but that'll be two things that I'll check on and make sure that we have that for the next briefing.
Was there an exchange of gunfire with the police?
We're still trying to determine the suspect. I'm sorry?
Was there an exchange of gunfire with police, between the suspect and police?
That'll be more information that I give out in our next briefing.
Can you confirm that he used a shotgun in the shooting? Can you confirm that he used a shotgun?
I cannot confirm what type of weapon was used in the shooting. So again, we have several questions that we know we need answers for the next briefing. So we anticipate having a briefing within another hour, and we'll make sure that we give that information then. At this time, that's all the information we have. We appreciate your cooperative
with police. Is he
we have one more bit of information, and this is the last bit of information that we'll give to you until the next briefing. I anticipate another briefing very, very shortly, but there are 5 fatalities that we know of. There are several other persons that are gravely injured. We will have more information for you in the next briefing. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll be with you shortly. Governor Hogan, you guys can put the question.
All right, the first briefing wrapping up here, and at the very end of that briefing, the reporters and all of us got the information that we've been trying to get, which is on the numbers.
Acting Chief William Krampf reporting the number of fatalities.
5 fatalities from the shooting at the building on Bestgate Road, presumably at the Capital Gazette, at least according to the reporters at the Gazette, and several others, he said, gravely injured.
At the beginning of the news conference, Lieutenant Ryan Frazier of the Anne Arundel County Police Department, he went to the executive Steve Shue, who started off that news conference saying that several people have died. He confirmed that there were fatalities, and then at the end of the news conference, as we just heard, Acting Chief William Krampf said 5 fatalities that they know of, and several other people are injured as a result of this shooting this afternoon at 888 Bestgate Road.
And they and for some reason did not want to reveal that information. Obviously, trying to reach out to family members whose lives have forever changed on this day with the shooting at the Capital Gazette. We do know that police got there very fast, apparently in 60 seconds.
Wow.
Surely an indication that so many police departments all around the country train for these very scenarios.
We also do understand, per that news conference, that they do have a shooter in custody. Several reporters tried to ask police what kind of weapon was used. They would not confirm what kind of weapon was used, but the Anne Arundel County Police Department confirming that a shooter is in custody who is being interviewed by police as we speak. The Anne Arundel County Police Department responding with assistance with the Maryland State Police Department, the ATF on the ground as well. Captain Roy Taylor reporting that there were units from Prince George's County responding to the scene as well.
The building that you're looking at, the building is considered secure from a tactical standpoint, but they have not cleared it from an investigative standpoint. It's still described as a very fluid scene. 10 plus allied agencies from the area, as well as federal officials from the FBI and ATF assisting in this investigation.
And you talk about a fluid situation. We're looking at live, actually we're looking at video right now. We see some gurneys in that video. In that news conference, per Steve Shue, the executive, he said that the other injuries, those who were injured, were transported to Anne Arundel Medical Center, as well as shock trauma, University of Maryland shock trauma here in Baltimore. 5 fatalities, several other people injured, being transported to Anne Arundel Medical Center and shock trauma. Earlier, we were reporting that Anne Arundel Medical Center was on lockdown. We do understand that that lockdown is off, has been called off right now.
The shooter has not been identified. The type of weapon has not been identified. Motive has not been identified. We know they're expecting to provide another press conference in the next hour or so, and the sense is, just from the questions that were asked, that some of those will actually be answered in the next hour. The suspect is being interrogated in Crownsville, so more information to come on that part of it.
Police also saying that the building is secure for all intents and purposes, but not clear from an investigative standpoint. So they still have to go in and out of that building and clear it out and make sure that everything is 100% clear. But the building is secure right now, per the acting chief, Cranf, but it is not clear from an investigative standpoint. And just to recap, as people are coming in and out of our breaking news coverage, per the acting chief of the Anne Arundel County Police Department, there are 5 fatalities at 888 Bestgate Road in Annapolis, several other people injured.
And our thoughts are very much with our friends in journalism at the Capital Gazette and the Baltimore Sun, which owns the Capital Gazette as well. We want to send it over to Kim Dacey, who is near the scene and has some additional information for us and an interview as well. Kim?
Well, yeah, guys, after you heard that the shooter is in custody, all the buildings around there that were on lockdown lifted that lockdown, and we saw a stream of cars just coming out as workers and folks were leaving as they were lifted from the lockdown and then finally able to leave again. One of those workers in the building next door to where this happened is Samantha, and she joins us now. So tell us, what happened today? What was your indication that something was going on next door?
Well, we kept hearing what almost like, we kept hearing a loud noise outside, and then we realized there's helicopters flying over. And we thought maybe it could have been just going over to the hospital for some other reason. And then we got a message that there was a shooting literally right up the street here from us.
And what did you guys do?
We didn't know what to think at first because, it's something you hear about all the time, unfortunately. You hear it on the news, but when it happens right here close to us, we were like, oh my gosh, and then right away they put us on lockdown.
So describe lockdown. What happens in your office on lockdown?
We make sure all the doors are shut and locked, and the windows, all the blinds, everything are pulled over, and no one leaves and no one comes in the building.
So you had patients in there?
Yes.
Right? So what do we do with the patients while you're on lockdown?
We do the best to accommodate them. We do have food and water in case anyone needed anything, and we just had them stay there until everything's taken care of and the police gave us the okay.
What was it like in there while you were on lockdown? What were you guys talking about? What was the feeling inside there?
We kept pulling up the feed on Facebook, of course, and just scared. Really, it's hard to describe. It's like everybody some people panicked a little bit about it. I mean, it's very rarely you hear something like that close happen to you. Very scary.
And now hearing what happened, 5 people were killed, many others seriously injured. Yes. What do you think now?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's scary, very scary. Sorry, I'm a little shaken up about everything. So.
Yeah, how are you doing emotionally now, hearing this and having this whole day?
Doing okay. I'm glad we got the clear to go home. Feel better at home.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Samantha, for, I know it was the end of a long day, so thank you for sticking around to talk with us. And we're glad you're okay and everyone in your office is okay. But again, it was a scary afternoon for everyone in all of the buildings around there. So just everyone on lockdown in those buildings. Of course, you heard Samantha feeling, not really knowing exactly what was going on, but just kind of a range of emotions. So again, this is affecting a lot of people even outside the building where it happened. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you. We want to go out to our colleague David Collins, who is at the Baltimore Sun in Baltimore because there was an incident or reports of an incident that took place there earlier in the day. David, what can you share with us?
Well, just a few hours ago, some very tense moments here, and you're right, there was some confusion. Just a few hours ago, city police arrived here at the Sun Paper building en masse. They had gotten a call of an active shooter at the Sun Paper. Now, the confusion reigns because the Sun Paper owns the Gazette, which is located in Annapolis, and that's where the shooting took place. City Police spokesperson TJ Smith has further details on the police activity here earlier today.
And first and foremost, we want to offer our thoughts and prayers to the victims in Annapolis at the Capitol Gazette building. We're following that as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we had a call in Baltimore at the Baltimore Sun, and we think there was just a little bit of confusion with the Capitol Gazette being owned by the Baltimore Sun Media Group, the same company. So that situation's been taken care of. So right now, again, we offer our thoughts and prayers in that situation that's going on down there.
TJ Smith also said that they would provide assistance if needed in the Annapolis area. The Sun Paper management says they're not yet ready to discuss the incident. Reporting live from downtown, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, David. So just to clarify again, David, it appears that there was some confusion because the Baltimore Sun and the Capitol Gazette share ownership. Is that correct?
That's correct. They share ownership. Someone called police now and reported an active shooter at the Sun Paper, which, again, the confusion is the Sun Paper owns the Gazette, so they got the locality wrong. Gotcha. Well, very tense moments there for sure. David, thank you for that clarification.
You know, interesting, in the times and ages that we live, when something as tragic as this happens, there are actually people out there who would possibly make a call to the Baltimore Sun. Copycat sort of mentality, what have you, just to stir things up and create even more chaos.
Yeah, just as we're trying to understand all of this, this terrible situation that happened at the Capitol Gazette. And again, 5 people dead, several others gravely injured. This is a building at 888 Bestgate Road, a building that houses a number of other particular offices there. The police have described they have one shooter in custody who is being interrogated in Crownsville. They believe that shooter acted alone. We do not know yet the type of weapon, the motive. There are a lot of details we don't have yet.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it took a while for them to determine that there was just a singular shooter, but they had to interview a lot of people who were in those buildings, have them coming out with their hands up, interview them, interrogate them to make sure somebody didn't try to slip out with the rest of the people working in the building. But they now have determined it has been a solo shooter. He's being interrogated right now, still trying to figure out why. That's the big question right now. Still don't know what type of weapon he used to create such havoc and such deadly consequences this afternoon at that building. And interestingly enough, the Annapolis police are still not confirming it actually happened at the Capitol Gazette. They're simply saying it was in that office building, but they're not narrowing it down to that.
But the reporters have confirmed that.
Yes, they had the reporters working inside who witnessed it firsthand.
We're going to reset, take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more coverage.
From WBAL TV 11.
Annapolis Business Park. We're talking about a 4-story office building, houses many other offices along with the Capitol Gazette. I am hearing reports from one of the reporters who works at the Gazette. This gunman actually shot his way in through a glass door.
Absolutely.
And then entered the building that way and began to open fire on employees. We have several fatalities. We have several people severely injured. The exact extent of those injuries we don't know, but we do know now 5 fatalities.
The acting police chief confirmed that there are 5 dead, several others he described as gravely injured, and one shooter in custody being interrogated. We are expecting another update from police shortly. We heard from them just a short time ago in their first press conference detailing this terrible situation that has unfolded in the capital of Maryland at the Capitol Gazette, a newspaper of hardworking journalists who cover the Anne Arundel County area and cover a lot of politics in the area, and no doubt we're on deadline putting together their coverage for today.
All right, 11 News reporter Kim Dacey is at the scene tonight. She can bring us up to date from her vantage point. And you're on Bestgate Road, is that correct?
Yeah, we're right along Bestgate Road in the 800 block, probably just maybe a block or so from where this happened. And you can see all of the police cars down behind us. That's where the actual building is, all those flashing lights. Now, Bestgate Road remains shut down in both directions because you can see the huge police presence here from agencies as far away as Prince George's County here to help on the scene. Now, the good news is we heard that the shooter is in custody. They just released all of the buildings around the building where it happened, released them from their lockdown, so there was just a stream of cars coming here as folks were able to leave finally the buildings because I guess police determined it was safe since the shooter is in custody. But with 5 people dead and several other seriously injured, the folks who were on lockdown say it was really scary in there. They didn't know exactly what was going on throughout the day, just that they were told to go on lockdown, and they were hearing the helicopters flying overhead and such, and watching everything unfolding on the internet. So it was kind of a terrifying moments inside some of those buildings as they sat in there and just waited for the all clear. Now, there was a little bit of good news. We talked earlier to a gentleman, Mike Dempsey, who was trying to get his wife, who was in one of those surrounding buildings for a medical procedure today, and he couldn't get to her because they were on lockdown. He was trying to pick her up, and he was a little worried. We just saw them walk out a few minutes ago, so he and his wife are doing just fine. They are happy to be on their way home now after what has been a longer day than they originally thought. So that's a little bit of good news in all of this. But again, with 5 people dead and several others seriously injured, a very somber situation out here. Again, the police have cleared the building tactically, cleared it investigatively, so they're pretty confident they have the one and only shooter in custody, and they are going through now to collect more information and more evidence as far as their investigation is concerned, and that includes interviewing that shooter or that alleged shooter. We'll bring you up to date as soon as we get more information out here live on the scene. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you very much. This all unfolded shortly before 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I understand that the police response was very rapid. Within 60 seconds, reportedly, law enforcement was on the scene once a report came in of an active shooter.
And it's believed that response ultimately impacted how this all played out. We have some sound from Governor Hogan, who arrived on the scene a short time ago. Here's what he had to say.
I want to praise the local officials who responded so well and perhaps saved other people's lives by getting there while the thing was taking place and apprehending the suspect, and he's in custody. I know it's frustrating because it's not that they don't have information, they just can't share the information. I think we know about the number of fatalities, they know the weapon, but this thing is still actively going on, and it can hinder the investigation by releasing information too soon. So I believe that when they have the next briefing, hopefully they'll be able to provide you with more information.
So it's my understanding that law enforcement responded so rapidly that the shooter obviously still on premises. They confronted the shooter. He was arrested. No word as to whether there was any exchange of gunfire between them, whether the gunman gave up willingly, but he is in custody and being interrogated right now.
All right, we want to go to Barry Sims, who is live for us at Shock Trauma, where we understand at least one of the individuals who was shot is being treated. Barry, what can you tell us?
And of course, we're getting that from Maryland State Police. Anne Arundel County Police have not said a lot about the victims, except they did tell us at this point that 5 fatalities have happened and several others were gravely injured. Around 3:15 and again at 3:45, we did see 2 state police helicopters arrive here at Shock Trauma. Those helicopters arrived here around that time. We also tried to get in touch with the spokesperson for the hospital, and we were told by that spokesperson that she could not comment because this is a police investigation. But we did talk with state police, who did tell us that at least one person was transported by state police helicopter here to Shock Trauma. At this point, not a lot of information about any conditions or anything like that. I'm still trying to find out more information at this point. Reporting live from downtown Baltimore, Barry Sims, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Barry, thank you. And really, one of the more compelling things have been these tweets that have come from a reporter with the Capital Gazette, Phil Davis, who was the first person on Twitter to confirm exactly what happened in a series of tweets. We want to share those with you because it's really chilling. He says, gunman shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Again, Phil Davis, a reporter with the Capital Gazette, can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it's bad. He went on to add, There's nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that.
And again, he is at the Capitol Gazette where he works and saw all this unfold with his colleagues in their office shortly before 3 o'clock today in a building off of Bestgate Road, 888 Bestgate Road, which is still a very, as you can see, a very fluid scene. We believe one shooter is responsible for this, acted alone, and that shooter is in custody.
And after reading those tweets, in case we left it hanging, to the best of my knowledge, Phil Davis is okay, was not injured in the shooting,
Yes,
fortunately,
thank you
right?
for, yes, Phil Davis is okay. He is a witness. He was talking to police. He's outside of the building. But yes, Phil Davis was the first person to give us a sense of where this happened, because if you've been following the information from authorities, they're still referring to this scene as 888 Bestgate Road and not being specific about it happening at the Capitol Gazette. But we have confirmed through the reporters at the Gazette, through their tweets, and through the Baltimore Sun, which owns the Capitol Gazette, that is in fact where this all unfolded.
Yeah, but they did have to evacuate the entire Annapolis Business Park. We're talking about a 4-story building. Hundreds of employees work there. They had to be evacuated, and as they're evacuating the building, law enforcement also has to keep in mind that perhaps there's more than one shooter, perhaps more than one active participant in this, and they have to treat everyone coming out of the building as a possible suspect until they bring them out, interview them, and make sure that no, they are not. So everyone's coming out with their hands up, following police orders, directed to an area so they can be interrogated and cleared as far as non-involvement in the situation.
A familiar scene in this country, and a rehearsed protocol that is obviously in effect right now in that area. We understand there's also a tweet from President Donald Trump, who has been monitoring the situation. He says, prior to departing Wisconsin, I was briefed on the shooting at the Capitol Gazette in Annapolis, Maryland. My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Thank you to all of the first responders who are currently on the scene. That from President Trump, and as we've been reporting, apparently first responders arrived on the scene within 60 seconds.
Yeah, there is a lot of law enforcement, a lot of first responders on the scene, but you're also seeing civilians. These are people who were evacuated from the area and led to an area, I understand, at the Lord & Taylor parking lot at the Annapolis Mall, basically right across the street, where they can, once they're cleared, they can be reunited with family members who are certainly concerned about their well-being, or to pick them up or things like that. But again, the area near Lord & Taylor at the Annapolis Mall, that is where everyone who's being cleared to leave can reunite with their family members.
And other family members are getting the terrible, awful news that their loved ones are gone. And that's where we are in this shooting at the Capitol Gazette. I want to send it out to Karen Campbell, who is, I believe, still on the phone for us. Karen, what do you have?
Well, as you all mentioned, we did hear from Governor Hogan just a short time ago. He said, of course, this is just a tragic situation, as, we've heard 5 people, five fatalities. Several others are in the hospital, but, he did say, some of the good news is that there were several people that got out. Now, of course, Anne Arundel County Police are, working with 10 plus agencies. And, they said, of course, they have this suspect in custody. And, they said the interview process is just beginning. So they are, of course, in it for the long haul, just to find out exactly, how this happened, and more importantly, why this happened. And they said, they're going to come back and talk with reporters, talk with the media in about an hour, because they want to make sure that they confirm more information. Of course, we have lots of questions, lots of unanswered questions, and they hope to get back to us with more information within about an hour. But again, it's just a very tragic situation out here.
All right, Karen, thank you. And I have to tell you that the Capitol Gazette online continues to report on the tragedy that they are experiencing firsthand, with the headline on the Capitol Gazette, 5 dead, others gravely injured in shooting at Capitol Gazette newspaper in Annapolis. So
eerie.
It is eerie, it is chilling. They are living this. They have seen their colleagues fall victim to it, and now they are reporting on what is happening around them.
Yeah, earlier there were reports that there was possibly a suspicious package somewhere in that building, and I know K-9 units, a bomb squad, they were going through this building, this 4-story building, room by room, floor by floor, even checking the ceiling, moving ceiling tile air to see if anything might have been placed up in the ceiling area. To the best of my knowledge, that part of the investigation perhaps still going on.
You know, Stan, that was, I know we were reporting on that about 2 hours ago. We haven't really had a lot of traction on that particular aspect of the story, so my sense is that they have determined that that suspicious package is okay. I know they have like 10 different agencies out there, including ATF, FBI, and a number of local agencies. So my sense is that they have determined that that package, they gave it the all clear.
Yeah, and the building itself has now been cleared of all personnel, and they're out of the building as well. So again, you're looking at live pictures now. These are taken earlier this afternoon as people were being evacuated. Medevac, those injured, gravely injured, some of them. We now know there have been 5 fatalities. The shooting started shortly before 3 o'clock at the Capital Gazette. Reportedly, the gunman shot through glass windows or a glass door to enter the building and immediately started firing on employees inside.
We want to go out to our colleague Lisa Robinson, who continues to monitor reaction to this terrible, terrible story in Annapolis. Lisa?
Yeah, reaction continues to come in from officials around the state. This latest one comes in from Baltimore County Executive Don Moeller. Once again, families' lives will never be the same due to another horrific shooting. This time at the Capital Gazette, right in our neighboring county. My heart aches at this breaking news. We're also hearing from we've also heard from another number of other officials, Congressman Sarbanes, Senator Van Hollen, Senator Cardin. So those condolences and expressions of concern continue to come in. You know, this is a devastating day for Annapolis because it's a big day there. It's a plebe induction day at the Naval Academy. So you had a number of families coming from all over the country to sort of say goodbye to their children and wish them luck in the year ahead at the Naval Academy. And then right down the street, here you have this going on. A difficult day. Back to you guys.
Thank you, and Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger also among those sending his condolences and also praising law enforcement for their very quick response, possibly keeping the number of injuries and deaths to the minimum that they are. Although they are great. We do know 5 people dead, several other injured, many of them critically injured, so we don't have the number on that. Some of the injured taken to shock trauma, others to Annapolis Medical Center, I believe. But
this story has affected newsrooms across the country. The New York Police Department has sent patrols to major news media organizations in response to this shooting. A spokesman for the NYPD refused to elaborate for security reasons, but said that officers have been deployed in and around New York City and various media outlets out of what's described as an abundance of caution. So officials, of course, continuing to monitor this situation, trying to understand if this is, because there's so little that we know about the shooter and the motive, et cetera, what kind of reach this particular incident has.
Yeah, we should mention local media organizations taking the same precautions this afternoon. We got an alert that here in our own building, we're sort of shutting down our campus, so to speak, to any unauthorized personnel until we find out more. And it probably is still sort of shut down to people who aren't employees.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to go back out to David Collins, who is outside the Baltimore Sun. The Baltimore Sun owns the Capital Gazette, and I know, David, you've been trying to get some reaction from the folks there. What can you share with us?
Well, right now, I did talk to a manager at the Sun, and he says, we're not ready to discuss this incident just yet. Didn't rule it out, but they're not going to go on camera just yet. Saw some reporters who work here. We didn't speak with them, saw them from a distance, and understandably, some long faces. I mean, they're colleagues, and they don't know who had been shot or who is now deceased. But I mean, something of this magnitude happening to their colleagues, and sometimes the Sun paper here and in Annapolis is interchangeable. You know, reporters will go down there, and those reporters will come up here. So it's one big family, and they're understandably devastated. Just a few hours ago, city police were here en masse. Witnesses report seeing many police cars pulling up to the Sun paper, running inside. Apparently, someone called city police to report an active shooter at the Sun paper. Now, according to city police spokesperson T.J. Smith, there was some confusion because the caller meant to say it was, the Sun paper owns the Capital Gazette in Annapolis where the shooting took place. Now, spokesman T.J. Smith has a few more details to add to how they responded and what they plan to do to help those officers respond down there in Annapolis.
And first and foremost, we want to offer our thoughts and prayers to the victims in Annapolis at the Capitol Gazette building. We're following that as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we had a call in Baltimore at the Baltimore Sun, and we think there was just a little bit of confusion with the Capitol Gazette being owned by the Baltimore Sun Media Group, the same company. So that situation's been taken care of. So right now, again, we offer our thoughts and prayers in that situation that's going on down there.
Now, TJ also says that, you know, if needed, they're willing to give out some resources and manpower to assist the investigators down there. Reporting live from downtown, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, David, thank you for clearing that up. And it's good to know that it wasn't someone trying to capitalize on the very active and real situation that happened to the Capitol Gazette. Simply mistaken that it was owned by the Baltimore Sun when they called in and reported it. So that's good to hear.
I understand that Captain Roy is back up in the air for us. Captain Roy?
Good talk. Captain Roy Taylor and Sky Team 11. We're back down at the scene in Annapolis. What we have noticed here is that the fire department is in the process of relieving personnel that initially responded. They're dealing with refreshing the officers as well as the fire units that were on the scene. What we found interesting is that they've brought in a couple of, looks like tour-style buses to assist, I guess, with transportation of individuals from the facility, I guess, to their vehicles. But we have law enforcement that's in the process of checking all the cars right now. Still trying to nail down a little bit more about what's happening. I mean, we heard them say that they had the building secure. They did a secondary search on the building. They then sent the canine inside searching for suspicious packages, as in the gun dogs, to see what they came up with. I did not hear any response as far as them actually finding anything out of the ordinary, so to speak. But the whole area remains a huge crime scene here in Annapolis. But those were the buses that we were talking about, or some type of transport vehicle to assist with, I guess, moving personnel in and out, or moving the victims or the civilians that were inside the facility here back and forth to try and get to their vehicle. In fact, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 of those style buses that have worked their way up here just south of the location of the initial shooting scene north of the Annapolis Mall. There's a very, very large media presence that's at the Annapolis Mall monitoring this. We're still trying to get more information as we do. We'll update you reporting live in Sky Team 11. I'm Captain Roy Taylor.
Captain Roy, I have a quick question for you as far as those buses taking people out. The Capitol Gazette's located at the Annapolis Business Park. Does it not have its own parking lot? Is it possible these folks had to park someplace else to get to that business park?
We'll show it to you here, Stan. We're going to pull out wide, and we'll show you the business park itself. And then you'll see there's numerous parking facilities around that entire business park.
Gotcha.
But the way they pretty much set it up, it looks like it's kind of like one way in, one way out, and then there's a parking garage to the rear of that facility as well. So there's a lot of parking, but obviously the police are going to be interested in, you know, how did the suspect get to this facility? Where did he enter this facility? You know, where's his vehicle at? Is there anything in his vehicle? There's a lot to nail down here as to, you know, facilitate their investigation. So that's why it's just taking so long. We saw a lot of the office workers that were relocated over to the Annapolis Mall, and I haven't heard word yet, but it's more than probable that they'll be making some type of arrangements as they clear vehicles here at the scene. Those people would be allowed to come back and get them, but when that would be, I don't know. I wouldn't see that happening anytime soon.
Sure.
It's just too large of a crime scene and too much going on, Stan.
Sure. And the roads are all closed down in the area. People can't get in. Even if you can get to your car that's parked there, you can't get out. So it makes perfect sense. Transport them perhaps over to the Lord and Taylor, where they can at least reunite with family members who are concerned about them until later, until they get the all clear, they can go back and get their vehicles.
Absolutely.
All right, Captain Roy, thank you. I wanted to share with you there's a particular, very talented photographer with the Baltimore Sun. His name is, I've lost his tweet right now. I got so emotional looking at it. His name is Carl Farron, and he was talking about how difficult it is to be covering this particular story right now, but how committed he is more than ever. But his heart is surely breaking for his brothers and sisters and colleagues. And as we all know, we're family. You know, we spend so much time together in a newsroom through thick and thin, and his tweets was such an indication of where his heart is right now and how his heart is really breaking.
You know, those of us in the business, I understand exactly how he feels, because it's just automatic for us to get the story, to cover the story. You sort of set your emotions on the side. You don't let them get involved in the situation. Your job is to get the story, and that's what he's obviously doing. But obviously, it's emotional turmoil inside as you're trying to do it.
Absolutely. Let's go back out to Barry Sims, who was live for us at Shock Trauma, where we know at least one of the victims was taken. Barry, do you have any information for us to share?
Yes, we do have some new information at this point. We have confirmed with a spokesperson of the University of Maryland, R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center, that one person is here, was brought in by medevac helicopter, brought in by state police helicopter. Person is now being treated here at Shock Trauma. Again, no information dealing with injuries or anything involved in that. We do know that this person was a person who was there involved in the incident in Annapolis, and at this point, that one person was brought here to Shock Trauma here in Baltimore. Reporting live from downtown Baltimore, Barry Sims, WBAL-TV 11 News.
All right, Barry, thank you very much. So we have confirmation at least one of the shooting victims at Shock Trauma. We've been hearing that there were many people suffering severe injuries, and I'm just wondering now why just one at Shock Trauma. To the best of my knowledge, there's no other shock trauma area near there. That would be the closest one, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that medical decision that was made, but again, there
could
is...
say something about the severity of the injuries.
Perhaps.
Not bad enough to go to shock trauma, which would be good news.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we know those other individuals are being treated at the Anne Arundel County Medical Center. Again, 5 dead in this shooting at the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis. A number of individuals gravely injured. Some of those being treated, one person being treated at Shock Trauma, and a number of the other individuals being treated at Anne Arundel Medical Center. We do know that we are expecting to hear again from officials in the area, probably within the hour, another update providing some additional information about, perhaps about motive, some identifying information about the shooter, who is believed to be described, at least unconfirmed, but described as a white man in his 20s.
I would imagine with so many people injured, 5 of them fatally injured, you know, a lot of curiosity as to, okay, what type of weapon? Law enforcement couldn't tell us earlier during the press conference, but it certainly will probably renew the debate about assault-style weapons and extended clips and, you know, bump stocks, and so we're still waiting to hear what type of weapon this person used to shoot his way into the offices of the Capital Gazette and then inflict so much pain and suffering once he was inside.
Yeah, there appeared to be a question along those lines asked to the governor, who joined officials at this first press conference about an hour ago, and there was a question along those lines, and the governor did not answer it specifically, getting into the political debate right now, clearly focused on the families that are suffering so at this hour, the families of the victims and the families of those who have fallen in this shooting at the Capital Gazette. Yeah,
you were looking at live pictures, obviously law enforcement, investigators, 10 different agencies represented on the scene here, including the FBI and bomb squad and local jurisdictions surrounding the Annapolis area, Anne Arundel County, Annapolis Police, what have you, still investigating what happened this afternoon at the Annapolis Business Park, specifically at the Capital Gazette offices in the Annapolis Business Park. As it appears right now, a lone gunman shooting his way into the offices of the Capital Gazette and opening fire on employees. We heard from reporter Phil Davis, who was one of the employees inside, who witnessed and heard the chaos and his co-workers being shot. We do know there's confirmed 5 fatalities and several other severely injured after the shooting at the Capital Gazette.
Over the scene for us now is Captain Roy Taylor. Captain Roy, we're going to send it back out to you for an update.
Well, right now, as you can see here, there's still a huge presence of law enforcement officials at the scene, even though the suspect has been arrested, and he was arrested fairly quickly, as a matter of fact. When police got here to the scene, they immediately engaged the individual, and he was taken into custody right away. That way the fire department was able to get in and try and treat the individuals that were shot. They had initially 3 state police helicopters responding to the location to transport victims to the hospital, but as it was, there was only 1 transported by helicopter. That was Maryland State Police Trooper 2 that took that individual to shock trauma. And that person was in very, very serious conditions, because we could see them actually doing chest compressions on that victim while they were in the process of putting that victim in the helicopter. Now, what we're showing you right now is some of the tactical units that have exited the building. They're in the process of debriefing, and they'll end up having to obviously make reports as to what they did, what they saw, where they saw. It's going to be a very, very long going process as far as the investigation that they're dealing with here. There's just too many variables that they have to nail down. You have numerous agencies that responded to this. They'll get everybody together, get everybody on the same sheet of music, same page, so that they can communicate with each other and elaborate on what they observed when they arrived, what they did, how they did it, so that they can document everything. Because they'll obviously need it when they go to deal with the prosecution of the individuals that they ended up making the apprehension here. So at least things have quieted down somewhat, other than the investigation, but still a very tense situation here in Annapolis. Reporting live in Sky Team 11, I'm Captain Roy Taylor.
Captain Roy, quick question for you. I'm going to assume, because we haven't heard anything to the contrary, law enforcement responded within 60 seconds, I understand. The shooter apparently offered no resistance, gave up willingly, and was not injured in his arrest. Because he's being interrogated now.
That is correct. That is correct. I mean, it was very, very, as soon as law enforcement approached the individual, from what we understand, he gave up right away, and they took him into custody right away. I mean, the apprehension was extremely swift. You know, the officers wasted no time in entering the facility here, finding the location where it went down, finding the individual, and taking that individual into custody. They relayed that information as fast as they could to the fire department personnel, so that they could go in and treat the wounded that was here at the location in Annapolis.
All right, Captain Roy, thank you very much. And as we said, the shooter being interrogated right now as to trying to get to a motive. Why for all this?
Absolutely. And prior to this moment, the lead story of the day would have been a police-involved shooting in downtown Baltimore. We want to go to lead investigative reporter Jane Miller on the scene with some information about that. Jane?
Yeah, Deborah, we're in the 700 block of West Pratt Street. This is the Walter P. Carter Mental Health Clinic. On the 5th floor of that building is where this happened earlier this afternoon. A 911 call came in for a man with a knife inside the mental health clinic. The clinic's operated by the University of Maryland Medical Center. A woman in the clinic at the time told me she could hear someone acting out erratically. Police say 4 officers responded, wanted the man to drop the knife. Police say he wouldn't drop the knife, then charged at officers with the knife and a chair. Here was some of the account from police spokesman TJ Smith.
When officers arrived, the individual was still armed with a knife, acting in an erratic way, had thrown several chairs in a waiting area around, and many people, including staff, had tried to get him to put down the knife. Officers tried to get him to put down the knife, asked him multiple times to put down the knife. The suspect refused. The suspect then charged officers with the chair and the knife, and that's when officers fired on the suspect.
4 officers, as I said, were involved. The incident was recorded by police body cameras, so there is video of the incident. I asked if the crisis intervention team, anyone from the crisis intervention team in the police department, was called to this scene. TJ Smith said there wasn't time for that. By the time, he says, the man charged at officers. The man is 27 years old. We do not have an ID on him. He was shot in the upper body and leg, and he is in critical condition. I'm reporting live from downtown. Now back to you in the studio.
That certainly would have been the lead story had it not been for the developments in Annapolis today.
All right, let's go back out to Kim Dacey, who is live for us along Bestgate Road. Kim?
Yeah, hi guys. We're here on Bestgate Road in the 800 block, just about a block away from where this whole incident took place. You can see behind me here, again, the road is maybe a little less crowded with some police vehicles. Just a few minutes ago, we saw some tactical units from Howard County driving and leaving the scene. So maybe an indication that some of the extra help that came in to help in this situation is starting to leave. So that might be a good sign as far as reopening the road and getting some things back to normal here along Bestgate Road in Annapolis. But again, this was just before 3 o'clock today when the road was shut down, and a lot of police cars, fire, rescue, ambulances, you name it, all over the street here because of the shooting that happened. Of course, we now know 5 people were killed, several others seriously injured, but the investigation here continues. Even though the shooter is in custody, they say they are still using the building for investigation purposes and collecting evidence and things of that nature. Now, the surrounding area was also affected by this, not just the building where the shooting happened. When that happened, they, as a precaution, put all of the buildings around here on lockdown. That included a medical building next door. So the patients and the staff were all on lockdown for several hours. We did talk to a woman who was inside there and said that, you know, it was a little frightening. They were watching what was going on the internet, and before the shooter was in custody, they didn't know what was going to happen. So they just kept their doors locked and kind of stayed together and watched the whole thing play out on the internet. So a very frightening afternoon here for a lot of people in this area. Now, after the lockdown was lifted, we did see a lot of the folks you know, driving out of here and finally going home, very happy to be headed home for the day. I think we do have a soundbite from someone we talked to a little earlier about the whole situation.
We kept pulling up the feed on Facebook, of course, and just scared. Really, it's like, it's hard to describe. It's like everybody kind of, some people kind of like, you know, panicked a little bit about it. I mean, it's very rarely you hear something, you know, like that close happen to you. Very scary.
That was Samantha, the worker in the medical building next door, who was talking about being on lockdown for several hours. Very happy. She's very happy to get home and away from this whole situation, but a very frightening afternoon for everyone here along Bestgate Road, especially the folks in that building where the shooting happened. We will keep you updated and bring you any new developments as we get them. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you. The Associated Press is reporting that the suspect in the Capital Gazette shooting is a white male who used a shotgun and is not cooperating with authorities. There is some talk on Twitter that this individual did not have identification on him and is refusing to identify himself to law enforcement.
All right. Lisa Robinson, I believe, still in the newsroom. Lisa, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, what do you have for us?
All right, we have some information about the Capital Gazette and what was actually located in that building. In the building where the Gazette is located, there are also other papers: the Capital, the Maryland Gazette, the Bowie Blade News, the Crofton West County Gazette, Capital Style Magazine, and CapitalGazette.com. So that's important to note because we don't know what the motive was, but this was a publication, and there are other publications, so not to make a huge leap, but just to give the information about what else is located in that particular building. We also want to share with you a tweet from we want to share with you a tweet from one of the reporters who was inside the Gazette when the shooting began. Phil Davis is his name, and he says the gunman shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it's bad. And of course, we now know that there are 5 fatalities and several grave, rather severely injured people. Now, the second tweet says there is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload. We are also hearing from the Naval Academy. The Capital Gazette is our local newspaper and is often the first to tell our story. We are grieving with their staff and loved ones after the tragic events that occurred today at the Capital Gazette News. And as we have been talking about, it was a big day at the Naval Academy today. It was plebe induction day. Parents were here to see their children from all over the country, and it's usually a big celebration, big happy day, a day of moving forward, but it was marred with what happened over by the Annapolis Mall. Reporting back to you guys in the newsroom.
All right,
Thank you,
Lisa,
Lisa.
thank you very much. That's very interesting. Apparently, there's 6 different media outlets located in that building at 88 Bestgate Road, and perhaps that's why law enforcement so far has not been willing to say it was specifically at the Capital Gazette. They had to ferret that out and be sure, despite the fact we've been getting tweets from Phil Davis, a reporter who works at the Gazette, and described the gunmen coming into their offices.
I also want to share with you a tweet from the editor of the Capital Gazette, Jimmy DeButz, who says, "Devastated and heartbroken, numb. Please stop asking for information and interviews. I'm in no position to speak. Just know Capital Gazette news reporters and editors give all they have every day. There are no 40-hour weeks, no big paydays, just a passion for telling stories from our community." So that from the editor of the Capital Gazette, who they are in the midst of all of this, having covered news and now are living this terrible tragedy that took place right in front of their eyes.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the staff at the Gazette more for the loss of life and the injuries to others. And they are our colleagues, newspaper, TV, radio. You know, we're all colleagues. We run into each other periodically and cover the same stories on a regular basis and things like that. And our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone impacted by this.
And we are awaiting the second news conference of the day with authorities in Anne Arundel County. We know that there are a number of agencies cooperating in this investigation. We are waiting.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Hello again, everyone. We're back on the air with more on today's fatal mass shooting in Annapolis, Maryland. The shooting in the offices of the Annapolis Capital Gazette newspaper left multiple casualties. A suspect is in custody. Another briefing now underway with an update.
Give you guys a brief update for some of the information that we've learned or come to know through investigation. Some of the questions that you had earlier, we'll have some answers for. And unfortunately, we still have some that we can't answer, but we do have an update for you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Anne Arundel County Executive Stephen Shue.
I'm County Executive Steve Shue. As we reported earlier today, there's been a terrible tragedy here in Anne Arundel County. There was an active shooter incident. 5 people are dead. Several more are wounded and in the care of Anne Arundel Medical Center. The shooter is in our custody and being interrogated as we speak. I want to acknowledge the tremendous work of our public safety professionals today, particularly the Anne Arundel County Police Department, the Annapolis City Police Department, and the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. They were on the scene in about 60 seconds. But beyond that, they went immediately into that building without a moment's hesitation and demonstrated incredible courage. And we are so deeply appreciative of their great work. It could have been a lot worse. Governor Hogan.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here. Obviously, our hearts go out to the victims and their families. And I just want to reiterate, County Executive Shue, it's all 3 county agencies, the city police force, county police, the sheriff's department. We have, I think, 10 different other agencies backing them up. All the state police agencies are here as well, federal partners. And, it's a tragic situation. But there were some very brave people that came in and kept it from being even worse. And the response time was incredible. So that's all I have to say.
Chief Cranford.
Good afternoon. I promised you guys an update.
See who you are.
Deputy Chief William Cranford, Anne Arundel County Police Department. So the building as we speak is now tactically secured. And what that means is our SWAT team and our quick responders have been through the building. It is secure as far as there are no more persons in the building that are a threat to anyone else. We did recover what we thought may have been an explosive device. That has been taken care of. We have members of the bomb squad on scene. We don't anticipate having any more explosive devices. What is happening now that you see behind me is that our Criminal Investigation Division, the actual investigators, are now taking over the scene. We have released it to our members of the Criminal Investigation Division so they can start the process of identifying what occurred and how it occurred and why it occurred. So at this time, we had over 170 individuals in the building that were escorted out safely. They were taken to a reunification area over at the Annapolis Mall. We brought Jen Corbin in from our crisis intervention team, who's going to say a few words in a moment, to talk with the witnesses, some of the victims, and the police officers who responded. At this time, we're going to continue the investigation, and we'll have an update for you later on this evening, and I believe Ryan's going to give you a time for that. Jen?
Give us the numbers, please.
Go ahead, Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Corbin with Anne Arundel County Crisis Response. We have been at several different sites working with both witnesses and police officers following the incident. We will be working continuously throughout the night, both on a phone line and throughout to assist. We are mental health clinicians that will be working both with the witnesses and the officers for the next day or so. So that's what we'll be available for throughout.
Thank you, Jen. I have one more item. This area, the area of the mall, the area of Bestgate Road, is going to be closed for an indefinite amount of time. I can't tell you when it's going to reopen at this point. So if you've received calls, please let them know what occurred and why we have it shut down. The investigation is going to continue into the evening hours, and at that time, when we get more information, I will have another update.
All right, we have been listening to an update from authorities there in Annapolis, Maryland, at the scene of that shooting at a newspaper. Not a lot of new detail there, except for the fact they retrieved something that it's not clear whether it was an actual explosive device in the way he talked about it, but a device or something that drew their attention. But they don't believe there are any further threats. They have a suspect in custody. He says they are interrogating that individual, not talking about a motive. But again, 5 people killed in this shooting rampage today, several others injured and being treated at hospitals. I want to go to Kristen Welker now at the White House. Kristen, the president was traveling today, but we've seen his tweets, obviously monitoring what's happening.
Monitoring what's happening very closely, Lester. President Trump just returned from Wisconsin. He didn't answer questions from reporters, but he did tweet earlier today that he was briefed on the shooting. And then he went on to say, "My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Thank you to all of the first responders who are on the scene." Now, you heard, of course, the authorities there talking about the bravery of the first responders. Undoubtedly, that is something that President Trump is going to be very tuned into, as well as he continues to monitor this tragedy. And Lester, during the time that he's been in office alone, he's overseen more than a dozen mass shootings on his watch. Moments when he has come out, spoken to the American public, talked about the need for change, talked about the need to make sure this doesn't happen again, including after the Parkland shooting. Of course, that claimed the lives of 17 students and teachers. And in the aftermath of that, President Trump said he was willing to take on the NRA, willing to make some real changes like expanding background checks. But ultimately, there was no action in terms of Congress. And so this continues to be a very fraught political debate. But Lester, right now, the thoughts and prayers are with the victims there at the scene. And again, this White House continues to monitor this situation very closely. This is in the president's backyard, Lester.
All right, Kristen Welker, thank you very much. 2 other items of detail from that latest briefing. The suspect described as a white male, and police now saying his weapon was a long gun, essentially a generic term for a rifle-sized weapon. We expect to get more details, and of course we'll have a full wrap-up of what we know when we see you on NBC Nightly News. For now, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Good day, everyone.
that was revealed was that they recovered what the chief said, what we thought was an explosive device. The investigators have taken over the scene. There are no other explosive devices inside. Obviously, there was some additional information needed to ferret that out, but that is sort of the new piece of information, and that there were 170 individuals in that building who were escorted out safely.
Yeah, and the Anne Arundel County Police Department crisis team is also available and working with, I would imagine, many of those 170 people who were either direct witnesses or, you know, were in the building at least, and need to talk to a crisis team about calming down and getting their head back straight. And the interesting thing, all we know is still about the shooter, white male, no age, no ID, he was carrying no identification. We do know a long gun was used. It's been reported it was a shotgun. We do know the suspect shot his way through a glass door to enter the building and then entered the offices of the Capital Gazette and started opening fire on people. He was captured 60 seconds after the shooting began. They responded that quickly, and we heard that there was no exchange of gunfire between law enforcement and the suspect just prior to their making the arrest. But he is in custody. But again, no ID, not carrying any identification. I would imagine right about now they've already taken fingerprints, running those through a database to try to get an ID, since he's not cooperating with the interrogation process.
Absolutely, and the police chief also said, the acting chief said that the area is closed, this area of Bestgate Road is closed for what he described as an indefinite amount of time. So if you have any plans to head into that area, you are not going to get there. It remains closed and will be closed. The investigation will continue throughout the night with authorities.
They have been transporting. Captain Roy Taylor showed us the buses taking many of those 170 people away from that area and I guess across the street over to the Annapolis Mall, the parking lot in front of Lord and Taylor, where they're sort of gathering there. And if you do have concerns, you have family members, friends who are working in that building or visiting many of the office buildings, there's medical office buildings, what have you there. They're likely there now at the parking lot at Lord and Taylor at the Annapolis Mall.
Yeah. Let's go back out to Kim Dacey, who is along Bestgate Road for us. Kim, what do you have?
Well, yeah, we have the road still shut down here on Bestgate. We're in the 800 block, just about a block away from the building where it actually happened. And you can see police and fire and rescue units off in the distance there, maybe a few less. We've seen a few leave just in the last half hour or so as the situation, I guess, becomes a little more under control. They've said the building is tactically clear, but they are still using it for investigation. So the road, as we just heard a few minutes ago, will remain shut down in both directions for an indefinite period of time. So still an area to avoid if you're out traveling this evening or maybe on your way home from work. Again, it's going to be shut down indefinitely. Now, folks have been kind of walking through periodically, either trying to get to their homes or from their homes. All the buildings that were around the building where the shooting happened, the lockdown was lifted, so cars have also been trickling out of the parking lots here. And we were talking to some folks who were on lockdown who said it was a pretty scary situation. They were watching what was unfolding on the internet, but didn't have a whole lot of other information other than that. But they were glad the lockdown was lifted and they could head home. We also spoke to another gentleman who seemed pretty distraught, and he said he has a family member who works at the Capital Gazette and he hasn't been able to get in touch with him all afternoon. So of course he has a lot of concern about that. He wasn't able to get information from police. He went to Lord and Taylor where they're asking folks to go and just wasn't able to get information on him. So of course we're hoping his family member is okay, and he's going through what at least five other families are going through tonight, more including the folks who were seriously injured. So again, still a very active and ongoing scene here. You can see several helicopters circling the scene as well. Again, we will keep you posted as this situation continues to unfold here and let you know if anything new develops here from the scene. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you. We know that there's going to be another press conference tonight at around 8 o'clock, and perhaps at that point we will have some information on the identity of this shooter and some sense of motive. There's a lot of speculation, and I'm not even going to pass it on, but a lot of speculation and a lot of very angry conversations taking place on social media right now as we respond to another tragic shooting in this country with 5 people dead at the Capital Gazette, presumably 5 journalists killed, and so there's a a lot of angry talk taking place right now.
Yeah, Deb,
so.
like you said, you know, it's never a good thing to speculate. We deal in facts. We don't like to speculate. But I can tell you, I've worked in a couple of other markets where there have been disgruntled readers of newspaper articles that were doing investigative pieces, or they didn't like the stories that were being written. I remember when I was out in Phoenix, Arizona, started the business there, the Arizona Republic. A person attacked a reporter, came in with a gun, what have you, and that. Again, St. Louis, I worked there. St. Louis Post-Dispatch, they had some problems with disgruntled readers. They didn't like the articles that were written, and these people decided to take matters into their own hands and charge down to the newspaper locations and try to wreak havoc. But again, you know, we don't know what the situation is here. No, we don't.
Yeah.
We really don't.
And hopefully we'll get some more information a little bit later. Let's go back out to Karen Campbell, who has been joining us by phone. She's in the area as well. Karen?
Yeah, Anne Arundel County Police just wrapped up another one of their press conferences, and there were lots of questions for police. You know, of course, as journalists, we want as much information as possible, and you know, police responded. They want to make sure things are accurate, and they don't want to release any information that could jeopardize their investigation. So, you know, what we know so far, and I'm sure this has been reiterated to our viewers, is that you know, there's no ID on the shooter. We know that he is an adult white male. Police say he was carrying a long gun, but it's unclear how he got entry into the building. And we tried to ask him, did he work in the building? Did he know anyone in the building? And police at this point, they just don't know. Now, they want the public to know not to come to this area. They are going to close off Bestgate Road, they said, for an indefinite amount of time. So, again, avoid the area of Bestgate Road because this investigation, they tell me, is going to continue throughout the evening, possibly overnight, until they find out just, you know, how and why all of this occurred. At this point, they don't have a motive, and that is what they are seeking. So, Deborah, as you mentioned, there is another press conference coming up at 8 o'clock. And, you know, we asked them as far as the injuries, are there any more injuries or fatalities that you can tell us about? So they stuck with that number 5 fatalities, and they said about 170 people were inside the building that were escorted out. And, again, as we have more information, we will pass that along to you. For now, live in Annapolis, Karen Campbell, WVAL TV 11 News.
All right, Karen, thank you very much. We heard during the press conference just a few minutes ago that confirming now 5 people dead, several wounded. As far as the number of people severely wounded, I think law enforcement said, to the best of knowledge, the number is 3. So, you know, if there's any good to come out of that, it's not more than 3, hopefully. But 3 seriously injured, but 5 dead in the shooting in Annapolis today at the Capital Gazette.
And we want to share a tweet from the editor of the Capital Gazette, Jimmy DeButz, who shared, devastated and heartbroken, numb. Please stop asking for information and interviews. I'm in no position to speak. I just know Capital Gazette news reporters and editors gave all they have every day. There are no 40-hour work weeks, no big paydays, just a passion for telling stories from our community. And now they're telling this story from their newsroom. We are there in times of tragedy. We do our best to share the stories of people, those who make our community better. Please understand, we do all this to serve our community. And it really is very much a community paper there. The Capital Gazette cover a lot of politics, a lot of the stories of the legislature, what takes place there. So they're very much members of the community reporting on the community.
Our thoughts and prayers to Phil DeButz and his entire staff of the Capital Gazette. Really, our hearts are there for you. They really are.
Absolutely.
I can understand how it's so difficult because everybody wants information, and it's so natural for us to call what are our colleagues, but we understand. We understand, no problem there.
Absolutely. Again, we're taking a look at the scene. This is still a live scene of the area in Bestgate Road. The police have said that this area will be closed for some time, at least for the night, as they continue to investigate. And we do know that in the last press conference that an explosive device was recovered from the building. But the sense is that the building is tactically secure, but they continue to investigate as they piece together what happened shortly before 3 o'clock today.
Yeah, Captain Roy Taylor is still over the scene, and perhaps Captain Roy can tell us. We know that the building has been secured. Roy, do you notice sort of a ramping down of the numbers of people that responded earlier today, maybe an hour and a half ago? Is that starting to diminish now? He's busy with air traffic control right now. He is flying a helicopter.
Yes, it is.
Perhaps we can get back to him. But it seems to me, just from the pictures we're looking at right now, fewer law enforcement, fire personnel, what have you, surrounding that building than certainly we saw 2 hours ago.
Yeah, well, I think our sense is at this point that authorities are inside where this took place as they continue to piece together and to collect evidence for their investigation.
Yeah, and you notice all the cars in the parking lot just outside of that business park there. Those folks, 170 folks who were escorted out of the building, interviewed before they were released. Many of them got on buses and are now heading over to the Annapolis Mall, the parking lot in front of the Lord & Taylor, which is sort of a staging area for those people who are in those office buildings, all of those media offices, business offices, medical offices, who can't get to their cars to get out of the area because the road, Bestgate Road in particular, still shut down at this hour. They are now probably at the parking lot in front of Lord & Taylor at the Annapolis Mall.
Let's go back to Barry Sims, who is live for us at Shock Trauma, where we know that one individual is being treated, one individual who was wounded in the shooting at the Capitol Gazette. Barry?
Well, again, Anne Arundel County Police have told us that 5 people have been killed and several others have been injured. One person, as you mentioned, is here at the University of Maryland, R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center. That person was brought here by medevac, by police helicopter, and that's confirmed by the Maryland State Police and also a hospital spokesperson. My colleague David Collins was able to find out some other information. Anne Arundel Medical Center, a spokesperson there says that 2 patients are being treated at that hospital. Both suffered injuries in the incident in Annapolis, but neither suffered from gunshot wounds. That's what we're hearing at this point. That's the latest information we have on the injuries at this point here in Baltimore and also in the Annapolis area. Reporting live from downtown Baltimore, Barry Sims, WBAL TV, 11 News.
All right, Barry, thank you very much. And sort of a confirmation from what we heard in the press conference about 30 minutes ago about 3 people being injured. We now know 1 is shock trauma and 2 at Anne Arundel Medical Center being treated. Oddly enough, not gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
Probably trying to flee the scene and perhaps suffered injuries that way.
It had to be a very chaotic scene that unfolded there. Again, we continue to be over the scene here of this area of Bestgate Road at the building 888 Bestgate Road. We know that 170 people were evacuated from that building. We do know that the shooting took place at the Capitol Gazette, that 5 people were killed. Is Captain Roy able to chat with us now? No. No, Captain Roy is not. I thought he was. Yeah, Captain Roy. It sounds like you are over the scene for us still. What can you share with us at this moment?
Roy, they're talking to you.
All right. Well, we'll go back to Captain Roy in a little bit, but I know that David Collins is standing by for us at the Baltimore Sun in downtown Baltimore with an update from there. David, what can you share with us?
Well, earlier today, some tense moments and moments of bewilderment because Baltimore City Police responded here en masse. The police department got a call about an active shooter at the Sun paper. Now, the active shooting was taking place in Annapolis, as we all know now, owned by the Sun paper. And spokesperson T.J. Smith says his thoughts and prayers from his agency go out to all those impacted by this. Plus, their agency is prepared to send manpower and resources to assist in whatever way they can. The Sun paper management told us they're not ruling it out, but they're just not yet ready to discuss the incident or give us a reaction statement to the incident. I did manage to contact 2 Gazette reporters by phone this afternoon. Neither one of them were at the building today, and both came across very distraught and worried about their coworkers, of course, and they said they too are trying to find out information. Reporting live from downtown, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, David, thank you very much. I just heard something very interesting. You know, I was saying earlier, this shooter is not cooperating with the interrogation that's going on. He had no ID. He's not talking to investigators. I just heard there was a report that this suspect has literally done something to his fingertips, whether burn them, cut them, whatever, so they can't run those fingertips, run them through the Crime Information Center to try to get an ID on him. Again, this guy had a plan. Yeah. He had a plan, and he doesn't want people to know what the motive is. That's something else.
Something else. So we're going to reset and we'll rejoin our coverage in a few moments.
From WBAL TV 11, this is breaking news.
And we continue to follow this breaking news, this terrible story developing out of Annapolis, Maryland at the Capitol Gazette, where 5 people were killed, 3 others injured in a shooting that took place in that office building at 888 Bestgate Road shortly before 3 o'clock today.
Yeah, fortunately, law enforcement was able to respond to that location within 60 seconds, we're told. Certainly cut down on the number of people injured and possibly others possibly killed by responding so quickly. We learned in the press conference from law enforcement, they got there so fast, they confronted the gunman. He gave up. There was no exchange of gunfire between law enforcement and the suspect. The suspect is in custody right now, but as we've been telling you all afternoon, he is not cooperating. He had no ID. All we know is he's a white male, have no idea his name, his age. He had no ID on him. We've also heard that a long gun was used. We've heard from reporters who actually work at the Capital Gazette say that it was a shotgun that was used. We had heard that the suspect shot his way into the building, shot through a glass door to gain entry to the building, enter the offices of the Capital Gazette, and began to open fire on the employees there.
The president says his thoughts and prayers are with the victims of the shooting at the Capital Gazette. The president said in a tweet that he was briefed on the shooting before he departed Wisconsin. He says, "My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families," and he thanked all the first responders who are currently on the scene. Of course, we've been reporting that the first responders arrived on the scene within a minute. You know, this is what they train for. They train for these active shooter situations, and this one came to fruition right before them on this day.
Yeah, this is video, by the way, Deb, from much earlier this afternoon. You see people walking out with their hands up in the air. Those are some of the 170 people who were evacuated from the building. Now, law enforcement, this is a common practice. When you have an active shooter in a building, you don't know how many people are actually involved. You don't know if the shooter had accomplices, but you've got to clear that. You have to make sure before you let anybody leave the area. So you have everyone come out. Hands up. Everyone's treated as a suspect until you come to us. We see that you're not armed. We interview you, and then we clear you. That's the only way they know they can get down to the number of actual assailants involved. But 170 people evacuated from the Annapolis Business Park, a 4-story building housing not only 6 different media outlets, but medical offices, business offices, what have you. They had to evacuate, clear all of those people, and then they had to go through the building, room by room. They even searched in the ceiling areas looking for possible bombs. We're told there was one so-called suspicious package that they found. As we were told, it was taken care of. We don't know if it was an actual bomb, but they took care of whatever that package was. They don't believe there are any other suspicious packages in that building right now. It has been turned over. The K9 units, bomb squad, things like that are now out of the building, and investigators, criminal investigators, homicide investigators are now inside, and they're doing their part in this investigation. Still trying to figure out, Deb, why.
Absolutely. And on the scene for us all afternoon has been reporter Kim Dacey, and she joins us live along Bestgate Road. Kim, what can you tell us?
Well, you're looking at an armored vehicle, not sure exactly where it's from, has U.S. government tags going by us here, leaving the scene. We've seen several big police vehicles and tactical vehicles leaving the scene just within the last half hour or so here along Bestgate Road, the 800 block of Bestgate Road in Annapolis. A sign that maybe the scene is winding down just a little bit. We do know that the shooter is in custody, so the scene, you know, is now moving to an investigation standpoint as far as looking for evidence and things of that sort. But down the road here, Bestgate Road remains shut down in both directions, and still quite a few police, rescue, fire vehicles on the scene, even though some from other jurisdictions have left. Definitely road is closed off, going to remain closed for an indefinite amount of time. We just heard that a few minutes ago in our press conference. So an area to avoid if you are on your way home or driving around Annapolis tonight. Just avoid this area if you can, because it's going to be really tough to get by or to get around here. We do know that 5 people are dead. There are several others that are seriously injured. We don't know what kind of a motive the shooter had. Apparently, police are interviewing him as we speak. We know he is a white male. That's about all we know about him at this point. But again, police work on their investigation. The building has been cleared from a tactical perspective, but is still in use as far as an investigative issue is concerned, as far as collecting evidence and things of that nature. But again, still a very active and ongoing scene out here. We will keep a handle on it, and we will let you know if anything new develops. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you.
You know, the natural thing at this point is people want to know why. Why would someone do something like this? Well, the suspect is not being cooperative. Reportedly, they're having difficulty identifying him because he's even gone to the lengths of doing something to his fingertips, so they can't get fingerprints or run those through a database to try to determine an identity. Once they figure out an identity, there are several areas they can go now to try to get to a possible motive. Social media would be one of them. Sometimes people who do drastic things like this, heinous things like this, they post on social media. You can get into the mindset of why someone may have done something as horrific as this.
But they got to identify him first.
There you go.
And they will be holding a press conference at 8 o'clock, and perhaps we'll get that identity at 8 o'clock. We also know that some of the information that came out at the last briefing had to do with an explosive device that was found at the scene. Let's listen to the deputy police chief discuss what they found and what he said about that.
We did recover what we thought may have been an explosive device. That has been taken care of. We have members of the bomb squad on scene. We don't anticipate having any more explosive devices.
The acting police chief, and that was a bit of the news that came out at the very last briefing about this explosive device and about the fact that we have some sense of the numbers of people who worked in that address of 888 Bestgate Road, 170 people who have all been evacuated.
You know, something I found very interesting, we heard in that press conference also, the coordination among law enforcement agencies, that they were all on the same page on this. This is something that they train for, they drill for, including the communications among various agencies, so that they're all on the same page when they respond to a situation like this. They know what to do, where to go. There's no questions and confusion about, okay, what's next? So they really had this one down to a T, responding within 60 seconds of the shooting beginning, apprehending the suspect, no exchange of gunfire between the suspect. I guess he simply gave himself up, you know, which I find very interesting also. Sometimes, you know, they want to have a confrontation, go out in a blaze of glory, so to speak. Something tells me this person has a message they want to say. We just don't know what it is.
Well, the nation came to learn the name Phil Davis today, a reporter who covers courts and crime for the Capital Gazette, who tweeted, "Gunmen shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it is bad." He went on to describe what he was seeing. He said, "There is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload." This is from Phil Davis at the Capital Gazette, a reporter who covers courts and crime. And of course, his boss, the editor there, Jimmy DeButz, who tweeted out, "Devastated and heartbroken, numb. Please stop asking for information or interviews. I'm in no position to speak. Just know Capital Gazette news reporters and editors give all they have every day. There are no 40-hour weeks, no big paydays, just a passion for telling stories from our community." He went on to say, "We are there in times of tragedy. We do our best to share the stories of people, those who make our community better. Please understand, we do all of this to serve our community."
In addition to the 5 fatalities, we do know 3 other people are being treated tonight. One at shock trauma here in Baltimore, 2 others at Anne Arundel Medical Center. The 2 at Anne Arundel Medical Center, we are told, are not gunshot related. So injuries suffered in some other fashion. But the one at shock trauma here in Baltimore, I believe, is gunshot related and in serious condition.
Absolutely. We also have some sound that's just come in from a fellow journalist who was at this scene. Let's take a listen to what this individual has to say.
I got the news in moments after it happened, and so I actually literally parked my car about 2 miles from here because that was the closest I could get to the scene by the time that I was here, and I literally ran here, and I knew that NBC and everybody else would be here, but I wanted to be here as well because I know that my community counts on me. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
We don't know who that young journalist is, but obviously felt drawn to the scene and to show his solidarity with his community and his colleagues. Obviously got very emotional there. Perhaps we'll get some more information about that individual, but clearly felt the need to be there at this moment on this day.
Yeah, as we look at the Annapolis Business Park area, just to bring you up to date, this all began roughly about 10 minutes before 3 o'clock this afternoon. As Deb said, the reporter Phil Davis reported, the Capital Gazette reporter Phil Davis reported, the gunman entered the Business Park building and then shot his way through the glass doors to the Capital Gazette and opened fire on employees. We do know 5 people are dead, 3 people are injured. But again, we have no idea who the suspect is. He's not cooperating with investigators right now, not giving his name. All we know is he's a white male. I have no idea his age. We do know he used a long gun. According to Phil Davis at the Capital Gazette, it was a shotgun. You certainly would know a shotgun blast when you hear it. If you're that close in proximity, that was used.
We also have a tweet from the Vice President, Mike Pence, who is sharing his thoughts about the situation. Said, just arrived in Guatemala. We are monitoring the horrific shooting at the Capital Gazette in Annapolis. Karen and I are praying for the victims and their families. We commend the swift action by law enforcement and all the first responders on the scene. And there are a lot of first responders on the scene. We know there's about 10 agencies that have responded, some local agencies, as well as federal authorities from the FBI and the ATF. And as we indicated, they did find what they described as an explosive device in the scene. Perhaps we'll have some more information about exactly what that was later tonight when there's a briefing at 8 o'clock, if not before then.
Yeah. 170 people were told evacuated from that Annapolis Business Park building, that 4-story building there housing not only 6 different media outlets, but business offices, medical offices. The people evacuated, those 170 people, once they were cleared by law enforcement that they could leave the area, that they were not involved in the actual incident. They were taken by bus to the parking lot in front of the Lord & Taylor over at the Annapolis Mall. And that is where, if you have a family member who is doing business there, was in a medical office there, you were scheduled to pick them up, or you're wondering where they are because they're not home in their own car, they can't get to their cars and get the cars out of the area. That's why they were bused over to the Annapolis Mall. So you can pick them up there, you can meet them there. No idea when you're going to be able to go back. If your car's parked on that lot there at the Annapolis Business Park, no idea right now when you're going to be cleared to go and get your vehicle.
It'll be some time. Let's go back out to, of course, the Capital Gazette is owned by the Baltimore Sun, and our colleague David Collins is at the Baltimore Sun in Baltimore trying to get some reaction from the folks there. Just a terrible day for that family of news organizations.
Lots of long faces, Deborah. I've seen them, employees coming in and out of the building occasionally. Nobody from management has come out to talk to us just yet. I reached by phone 2 Gazette reporters who said that they were not in the building at the time. They came across understandably distraught and worried about their colleagues. All they could really say was, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get to some information just like you. Now, there were some earlier tense moments today and a sense of bewilderment because someone called city police to say there was an active shooter at this building, the Sun Paper building, and police responded in force. They didn't find anything going on here. Part of the confusion, according to city spokesperson TJ Smith, is that the Sun Paper owns the Gazette, Capital Gazette in Annapolis, and perhaps the caller was trying to talk about there was an incident at the Capital Gazette and got it confused with the Sun Papers here. Spokesman TJ Smith says his agency's thoughts and prayers going out to that newspaper and all those impacted by this incident, and his agency is standing by prepared to assist with resources and manpower if necessary. As I mentioned before, the Sun Paper management didn't rule out talking to anyone, just not yet. Reporting live from downtown, David Collins, WBAL TV 11 News.
David, I've got a quick question for you. You cover Annapolis for us. You're over there at the State House a lot. You probably run into the staff, many of the reporters from the Capital Gazette. Are you aware whether any of your friends were impacted by this?
I am not aware of that. We have a really good staff at WBAL TV, and before I left to come down here, I was handed a list of everybody's name and phone numbers, and I recognized a lot of names on that list, and I called all those phone numbers. It didn't leave a message with all the people. Some understandably and smartly leave a cell phone number, and I called those as well, and sometimes I left a message and sometimes I actually spoke to people. So so getting back to your point, yes, we run into these folks occasionally, especially in the Annapolis area, always professional, always courteous, never had a problem with any of them. And it was a pleasure running into anybody from the Gazette staff.
Yeah, so the calls you've made, the text you sent, no responses from any of those folks so far?
Well, I did get a response. I did reach 2 by phone,
okay,
and both those individuals told me that they were not in the building today, and they came across by phone at least, very distraught and worried about their colleagues, and they said, look, you know, in so many words, I'm just trying to get some information too, and I let them go, of course.
Yeah. All right, David, thank you very much.
All right, we have a statement from Governor Hogan, who was there on the scene participating in both of the news conferences earlier and perhaps is still on the scene. I know he had a tweet earlier that we wanted to share where he said, absolutely devastated to learn of this tragedy in Annapolis. I'm in contact with County Executive Steve Shue, and Maryland State Police is on the scene assisting. Please heed all warnings and stay away from the area, praying for those at the scene and for our community. Of course, this was tweeted out right after this happened, before he arrived on the scene where he was this afternoon. I believe we also have a statement from the mayor of Annapolis, Mayor Buckley, who said, our hearts go out to the family, friends, and co-workers of the victims of today's tragedy at the Capital Gazette offices. We know these reporters very well. We speak with them daily. The Capital is one of the oldest papers in our country, and they have been part of the fabric of our city for centuries. Our first responders deal with these journalists too. This is our family, and today's victims were our friends. Today's tragedy will not be the new normal for our city, county, state, or country. Mayor Buckley from Annapolis. Very thoughtful comment there.
In Annapolis, yeah. At the height of this, there had to have been, as Captain Roy Taylor was telling us, at least 200 different law enforcement personnel, including fire, law enforcement responding. You have to send fire because of the injuries. They're probably the first medical responders on the scene in case of injuries. We knew there were that. You know, bomb squad, you have to be concerned about explosive devices, and you got the active shooter in the building. So the local law enforcement agencies and several different agencies, they practice this. They practice on the coordination in an event just like this, and they all responded. And they got that gunman within a very short time after arriving on the scene. They arrived 60 seconds after the first calls went in that we have an active shooter in our building. So that probably definitely cut down on the number of injuries and fatalities in this case, Deb.
We also have sound from Congressman Anthony Brown, who of course was Lieutenant Governor and worked in Annapolis and probably knew some of these reporters quite well. Let's hear from Congressman Brown.
My heart goes out to the families of those who were killed today, as well as to the survivors, and there are some, and we wrap our arms around them and will support them in their speedy recovery and console the families. The crisis response team is set up here at the Anne Arundel Mall to comfort family, to comfort those co-workers, those who were in the building at that time. This is a time of crisis when communities have to come together, and that's exactly what's happening. You've heard a lot today reported on the response of law enforcement. You also have a community that's coming together. Mayor Gavin's a great mayor of Annapolis. He's a unifier. He's setting a great tone for, hey, let's come together around this community, this workforce, and support these families.
It's never too soon to have a conversation about guns, and this is something that we've been discussing nationally for years now. Now this has happened in a place where you are, Congressman, you represent these folks. What's on your heart about that? What's on your mind with that?
So, I mean, look, I'm very concerned because whether it's a church, a school, a theater, or today a newsroom, no community seems to be immune from gun violence, and that's why I'm committed to reducing gun violence. I can't stand here today and say what is the lesson learned, because we're still learning. We're learning about the motive. We know it's a long gun. That's how it was described, so it's some form of shotgun. We don't know how it was acquired by the shooter. So there are things that we'll learn through the investigation, and then in our never-ending effort to reduce gun violence in whatever shape or form that looks like, we need to take the information, the lessons learned from this incident, this tragedy, and do everything we can to reduce repeats of this type of gun violence or any violence.
Congressman Anthony Brown commenting on what has happened at the Capital Gazette today, where 5 people are dead and at least 3 others injured.
Yeah, and as he said, as a former lieutenant governor, the reporters at the Capital Gazette probably interviewed him numerous times. He probably knows some of the people who unfortunately lost their lives today, and so it really hits home. It really does. Yeah. All right, Captain Roy Taylor, I understand, is available to us now. Captain Roy, you with us?
Yes,
okay.
It's been extremely busy down here, Stan. Sorry.
I was asking earlier about the scaling down of the response. Is that noticeable to you from your vantage point?
Oh yes, a lot of units have been placed back in service and have left. Before, like I said, we had at least 200 200 officers down here. I would say we're back down to about maybe 50 at the location between the command staff. A lot of the cars that had responded have left. Some of the fire department personnel have left. going back into service. And the businesses that are to the north of the initial building, we were watching a lot of cars leaving, and we were wondering where they were coming from. Well, those businesses were on lockdown while all this was going on. They have now been allowed to go to their vehicles and leave. Now, this would not be the ones from 888, but these would be the ones behind that location that weren't associated with that initial call for the facility. They are now allowed to get in their vehicles and leave the premise, and we've been watching them, steady stream of people leaving that location. The crime scene still remains secure. No one's been allowed to get onto the parking lot to try and get their vehicles. FBI said they had spotted one vehicle that was kind of suspicious that they were looking into. We don't know if that was a shooter's vehicle or not. We're still keeping an eye on the investigative portion of this, where they have crime lab that has responded. They have detectives, homicide detectives are on the scene. Numerous other special operation vehicles have left. The TAC team, for the most part, has left the scene. The peacekeeper's gone. So a lot of things have wound down from a response mode, emergency response mode, now to an investigative mode. So the units that are still on scene, fire department's dealing with rehabbing or giving refreshments to those officers. And we're still trying to get more on this as to the why, but as we get more, we'll update you. Reporting live in Sky Team 11. I'm Captain Roy Taylor.
Captain Roy, another quick question for you. About an hour earlier, you showed us a line of what looked like tour buses, and people were being loaded, people evacuated from the building, loaded onto those buses. Can we confirm now that those buses took them to the parking lot at the Annapolis Mall in front of the Lord & Taylor?
No, what happened with that, Stan, when they came out of the initial building, they were taken to a secure location where they were debriefed by law enforcement. From that point on, they all marched from that location over to the Annapolis Mall and then into that facility that we talked about before, led by officers. The buses that we were talking about are still here on the parking lot. We haven't seen anyone get on or get off those buses. I don't know why they initially brought them over, if not to help facilitate maybe bringing people back here to the scene to try and retrieve their cars, but I don't have any information as to why. The only other option would be they would give officers that are here on the scene some means of air conditioning so that they could get out of the heat and get rehabbed and rehabilitated and swap out, so that the officers that are dealing with the perimeter to maintain a secure crime scene, it would allow, you know, some type of relief to get out from this hot day into a vehicle that has some type of air conditioning, get a quick drink while another officer would end up taking their slots. So 9 chances out of 10, I would think that's what the buses are for, is some type of relief for the safety personnel that are here at the scene.
Okay, I'm not really sure. You'd have a better vantage point. How far are we talking between this office building at 888 Bestgate over to Annapolis Mall and Lord & Taylor parking lot?
It's pretty much like across the street.
Okay, all right. So people could literally just walk across to the parking lot.
Yes,
maybe you can pan
see
over.
The shop we're giving you right there.
Okay, there you go.
It's just literally across the street.
Yeah, yeah. And it looks empty now, so everybody seems to have left the area. We were saying that was a staging area for people to meet with their family members and things like that, but it looks pretty empty now.
Yes.
All right, Captain Roy, thank you. We'll check with you in a little bit. We also want to pass on that, so according to the police, the part of Bestgate Road that will remain closed is the area between Generals Highway and Admiral Drive, and that should be closed for the next couple of hours. I also want to share with you some information from a photojournalist with the Capital Gazette who was talking about, he names particular reporters. He wants his colleagues to know that these particular reporters are okay, and I want to share that. This is from Joshua McCarrow, who says Chase Cook, Pat Ferguson, Paul Gillespie, Phil Davis, Celine Sanfelice, and Anthony Messenger are all okay. And he also passed on that there will be a Capital newspaper published tomorrow.
Wow.
So the news will continue as they cover this story that has developed around them and has impacted their family, but they will be putting out a newspaper tomorrow.
That's incredible. That's incredible. All right, we have been on the coverage of this story that broke a little before 3 o'clock this afternoon. Just to bring you up to date, if you're just joining us, a lone gunman shot his way into the offices of the Capital Gazette, located in the building at 888 Bestgate Road. That's in the Annapolis Business Park. Once he shot his way through the glass doors of the Capital Gazette, opened fire on the employees inside the Capital Gazette. We now have confirmation that 5 people, that's 5 people, have lost their lives in this shooting. 3 other people were injured, 1 with gunshot wounds, 2 other people injured, apparently trying to escape the shooting. They're being treated at Annapolis Medical Center. The one surviving gunshot victim being treated at shock trauma here in Baltimore.
Police have a suspect in custody. They are talking to him. He is not providing information on who he is, on his identity. He is described as a white man in his 20s. Police believe he acted alone.
Supposedly, allegedly used a long gun, as law enforcement put it. Phil Davis, a reporter with the Capital Gazette who was inside the offices and witnessed and heard this, said it was a shotgun that was used. We heard Congressman Anthony Brown allude to the fact it was a shotgun. That was the long gun that was used.
And Anthony Brown said no community is immune from gun violence. We also have a statement from folks nearby in the Anne Arundel County Public Schools who've been watching this story develop along with the rest of us, and they said our thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved in the horrific shooting at Capital Gazette newspapers today, and especially those who tragically lost their lives. We know Vanessa Herring is, this continues the statement, Capital Gazette employees have passionately dedicated themselves to the delivery of high-quality community journalism, including coverage of our school system that impacts everyone in Anne Arundel County. We grieve with them and their loved ones. A statement from Anne Arundel County Public Schools this afternoon. I want to send it out to Vanessa Herring, who is live for the scene. Are you along Bestgate Road as well, Vanessa?
We are. You can see the building just behind me here. That is the building where the shooting happened. We're kind of in an area right in front of the Nordstrom store at the mall. So if you're familiar with this area, we're kind of in a grassy area in between the building where the shooting happened and the Nordstrom that's here at this mall. And again, I just want to rehash some of those details that you all just went over. We do know that 5 people died in this shooting. Several others were hurt. And as you mentioned, and the AP is also reporting, officials believe that a shotgun was used in this shooting. The suspect is in custody. We know that he's a white male in his 20s. At this point, we're hearing that he is not cooperating with authorities. And we have heard some accounts of what happened inside this building. One of them that is going around quite a lot on Twitter is from Phil Davis. He's a reporter at the Capital Gazette, and excuse me, I'm just going to read what he tweeted out earlier this evening, saying a gunman shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it's bad. And after that tweet went out, we did learn that in fact 5 people who were inside this building died. At this point, we don't know if all of them were employees at the Capital Gazette. We'll have to wait for more information from Anne Arundel County Police as to exactly where these victims worked and where they were in this building when the shooting happened. Several others injured. Of course, we're waiting to hear updates on them, and we do hope to bring you more information once it does become available. I'll send it back to you all in the studio.
Vanessa, before you go, I just want to ask you a quick question. You can see the building right behind you. You're in a residential area. Is the traffic moving freely? Are residents able to get in, get out right now?
Well, let me give you a look at that, Stan. So here's a look at the road right now. You can see that this intersection is still blocked off. That's right here in front of this building, and it's expected to be for quite some time. Traffic was opening up a little bit when we were driving around this area trying to get to this location. So some roads have reopened, or if they are still blocked, police were checking IDs to let some people through. I'm assuming that they may be residents. They were checking to see if they lived in that area to let them through. But this road right here in front of the building is expected to be blocked and closed off for quite some time as this investigation continues.
All right,
Stan and Deb.
All right, Vanessa Herring reporting
Vanessa.
live from along Bestgate Road, across the street from the Annapolis Business Park.
The police have provided a phone number, a family and friends reunification number. So if you want to figure out where your family and friends are, this is the phone number to call, 410-768-5522. Again, 410-768-5522, and a phone number to find out if you have friends and family who have worked in that area and in that building. This is how you can connect with them and find out exactly where they are and how they're doing.
As we mentioned, there's 6 different media organizations in that Annapolis Business Park, the Capital Gazette among them, but also a lot of business offices, medical offices, various businesses. Some 170 people evacuated at one point from the building by law enforcement. They all, of course, had to be, as you saw in our video during the course of the afternoon today, hands up in the air until police could clear them, secure the area, making sure a potential suspect wasn't trying to hide among the innocents and come out with their hands up and make an escape. But they determined that this was the act of a lone gunman, no accomplices. They also determined what was considered a suspicious package that was removed and dealt with. No other suspicious packages found in the building. So your bomb squad people, your K-9 units, they are now out of the building, and your homicide investigators and other criminal investigators are now inside that building, and they're doing their part of the investigation, the things they have to do to try to get to a determination as to not only how it happened, but why it happened.
And evidence for prosecution.
Yeah.
We also know in that particular building there is a satellite office of the Children's National Medical Center housed in there. So it is very possible that there were children seeing doctors in the building at the time of the shooting. In none of the images that I've seen that have come out in the last couple hours, I've seen any images of children,
Right.
but it is possible. It was obviously a very busy 4-story building there, 888 Bestgate Road, so a lot of different kinds of offices, but obviously the Capital Gazette and some of its satellite publications as well.
Yeah, one of the interesting developments out of this afternoon, the Baltimore City Police Department gets a call of a report of an active shooter at the Baltimore Sun here in Baltimore. Now, the Baltimore Sun owns the Capital Gazette. So they rushed over to the Baltimore Sun thinking, okay, is this related of somehow? Well, as it turns out, the caller, good intended caller, was just simply confused, knew that the Gazette was associated with the Baltimore Sun, got it confused on the phone, and so they were able to quickly ferret that out, that there was no active shooter situation at the Baltimore Sun here in Baltimore. They were just confused about which offices.
But that had to be terrifying.
Yes,
well,
it did.
You know, and speaking of the Baltimore connection to this, we know that TJ Smith, the spokesperson for the Baltimore Police Department, he's sort of connected in a lot of ways with this story. He used to work, obviously, in Anne Arundel County,
Right.
so I know we spoke to him earlier today about what happened in Baltimore.
And first and foremost, we want to offer our thoughts and prayers to the victims in Annapolis at the Capital Gazette building. We're following that as well. And as I mentioned earlier, we had a call in Baltimore at the Baltimore Sun, and we think there was just a little bit of confusion with the Capital Gazette being owned by the Baltimore Sun Media Group, the same company. So that situation's been taken care of. So right now, and again, we offer our thoughts and prayers in that situation that's going on down there.
TJ Smith, who, if he were still working for Anne Arundel County Police, would be providing the press, the information for the press at that particular event.
Yeah, exactly. So
I believe we are going to go also back to shock trauma,
Okay.
where one individual is being treated. Barry Sims is live for us there. Barry, what do we know about this individual's condition?
And Barry, as we go to you, we've already heard that the 2 injured who are being treated at Anne Arundel Medical Center, those are non-gunshot wounds. What can you tell us about the person being treated there at shock trauma?
Well, here at Shock Trauma, one person was brought in by helicopter by state police, and we got that confirmed through the state police and also through a spokesperson here. We don't know anything about the person's condition. We do know that this was a person who was involved, who was a person who was there at the incident in Annapolis and was brought here by helicopter to Shock Trauma. The spokesperson could not give us much more information than that to tell us to just confirm that bit of information. State police were, at the time that we first got the information, of course, state police were assisting with Anne Arundel County Police, and so they were trying to get more and more information and trying to find out exactly what was going on in Annapolis, but they were able to tell us that one person, and they confirmed that, and then finally the hospital did as well. At first we weren't told very much from the hospital. They told us it was a police situation and everything was still pretty volatile, so they weren't able to tell us anything at that point. But now we do know that one person is being treated here at Shock Trauma. We don't know any information about the person's condition at this point. Stan?
or the type of injury. All right, Barry Sims live at Shock Trauma tonight. Thank you, Barry.
All right, we also want to go back to that sound from the one journalist who arrived at the scene at the Capital Gazette. He is from the Arundel Patriot, and he wanted to go to the scene to share his concerns with his colleagues there. And we have sound from that. Let's play that.
To be completely honest with you, it really sucks. I got to be completely honest with you, and I'll say it straight to the camera. It sucks when this is your family, regardless if they work for the same news organization or not. It's just like CNN or Fox, and you sitting there and seeing people from CNN, if you work from CNN, and you see people from Fox getting shot at, and it really sucks.
Again, that gentleman works for the Arundel Patriot, obviously emotionally upset about what has happened to some of his colleagues in Annapolis.
Absolutely. We want to share the reunification number again that's just come out of the police department. And this is a phone number for family and friends, 410-768-5522. Again, the reunification phone number. If you have family and friends in that area, this is the number you are to call to find out how to connect with them.
Yeah, I've got to believe, Deb, that many of the workers who were not injured and survived the shooting at the Capitol Gazette, they're probably still in the process of being interviewed by law enforcement since they were firsthand witnesses to what this shooter did once he entered their building. And as a result, it may take a while for them to get cleared before you can finally connect through this number, but at least you'll know how you'll be able to collect at some point this evening.
And they did say, authorities did say there are many, many witnesses to what took place. Let's go back out to Captain Roy Taylor, who is live over Bestgate Road with an update for us. Captain Roy?
Well, we can tell you the crime lab is here on the scene. They're starting their investigating as far as collecting evidence of from the scene here. The buses that you were talking about, they have since left, and it looks like they headed back down towards Annapolis. So all those buses are now gone. Most of the supporting agencies that had initially responded have left. They still have a perimeter around 888, the building down here, with law enforcement on all four corners of the facility here. No one's still allowed to get onto the parking lot to retrieve cars. But from what we can tell, a lot of the agencies that came on the initial response have left. Some of the support units within the fire department, they pretty much all gone. There's a small contingency that's still here from the fire department, but a lot of things has wound down from the initial emergency response now to an investigative mode, and they're going to pretty much go through this with a fine-tooth comb to make sure they gather any and all evidence possible, because they're obviously going to need it for when this goes to court, since they were able to apprehend the individual without injury, without incident. This will be going to trial, and they need to make sure they dot the I's, cross the T's, and have everything lined up as necessary so that they have a conviction in court. The road that we were talking about before still remains shut down just north of Annapolis Mall. That's at, Bestgate Road, both directions north of the mall shut down. But it looks like they may be trying to get some of that open once they get the rest of these police cars off of Bestgate. Some of the businesses that were on lockdown are back into normal operation. The cement factory that was adjacent to the facility is back in operation. A lot of the people that were on lockdown to the rear have now been able to leave. So things are winding down as far as the emergency response. We're now to an investigative mode, and as we get more information, we will update you. Reporting live in SkyTeam 11, I'm Captain Roy Taylor.
Yeah, Captain Roy, we were told that Bestgate Road, along the general highway area, that intersection there, that's definitely going to be closed down for another couple of hours. I see all the homes behind the Annapolis Business Park, clearly a residential area behind on the other side. Do you see folks able to get in and out of the residential section there?
Yes, they can now. They can get in and out of that residential section. There are police that are just prior to that on Bestgate, and when they the people that live there tell them, hey, this is where I live, this is where I'm going, they're allowing them to come in to that facility. They have crime scene tape that blocks the entrance from that facility that you were talking about to where the building was where the shooting took place. But for the most part, those people are now able to move about without incident, without trouble. The only thing is from the exit, they have to go eastbound before they can traverse to wherever they want to go to. And as far as the west side, pretty much most of those businesses, everybody has left. Law enforcement's allowing everybody to leave, get their vehicles that were not involved with the initial incident for the crime here. Stan.
All right, Captain Roy Taylor, thank you very much.
I wanted to share with you a tweet from Keir Simmons, who's a fantastic seasoned correspondent with NBC News, who says an attack on journalists is an attack on journalism, thinking of the staff at the Capitol Gazette and their families at this heartbreaking moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to pass that on.
Speaks for all of us.
Absolutely. All right, we want to send it out to Kim Dacey, who has been live for us along Bestgate Road all afternoon. Kim, what do you have out there?
Hey guys, yeah, again, we are still live about a block from where this happened, the building where it happened, just down the road here. And you can see there's a shrinking number of police cars and flashing lights in the distance. Definitely, we have seen a lot of police vehicles, armored vehicles, rescue cars and vehicles traveling away from the scene here as folks are released, as Captain Roy said. So definitely the scene is shrinking down a little bit, a sign that this is a situation that's getting under control, becoming more of an investigation and less of an active scene. But the road still does remain shut down. Bestgate Road between General's Highway and Admiral Drive is going to be shut down indefinitely, according to officials. So an area to avoid if you can. Now, they released about maybe an hour or so ago all of the buildings around here that were on lockdown. They released them and let them go home. And then we saw a stream of cars traveling on Bestgate Road, and I thought, did they open the road? And I realized it was the cars leaving the actual building where the shooting took place. As Roy said, they let them get their cars and leave the building. So it looks like most of them are gone at this point, and this is just the local traffic that you're seeing on the roads. But again, it does remain shut down, so you definitely want to avoid the area if you can. Now again, we know 5 people are confirmed dead, several others critically wounded. So this is a very serious situation out here, a very serious investigation that's ongoing. The building has been cleared tactically. They believe they have the one and only shooter in custody, but again, they are still going to have possession of that building as far as the investigation is concerned, as far as collecting evidence for the future, possible prosecution of this alleged shooter. Again, that's the very latest out here on Bestgate Road in Annapolis. We will keep you up to date if there are any new developments out here on our end. Reporting live in Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, Kim, thank you.
Yeah. We were saying earlier that a number of news outlets in the area, the metro area here and elsewhere, basically when you hear of an attack on a news outlet, most news outlets take that as an alert that, hey, perhaps we should step up our security. I know we did here at WBAL, no entry onto the campus unless authorized, what have you. But apparently we have some video now from out of New York where I understand that security, there you go, police officers stationed right in front of the New York Times building. Security stepped up there. Also, I understand that security has been stepped up at the ABC News headquarters building in New York. Again, as a precaution, you don't know if there's some type of a larger, broader agenda where the media in general is being attacked. And so you just take precautions until you know.
Yeah, and perhaps this is also a response not only to this particular incident, this horrible incident today, but there's been a lot of angry conversation on social media in the last 24, 48 hours about potential attacks on journalists. So it may be a response to that as well. This is a tweet from the editor of the Capitol Gazette, Jimmy DeButz, who said, "Devastated and heartbroken, numb. Please stop asking for information in interviews. I'm in no position to speak." This was from about an hour and a half ago. Just know the Capitol Gazette reporters and editors give all they have every day. There are no 40-hour work weeks, no big paydays, just a passion for telling stories from our community. Goes on to say, we are there in times of tragedy. Now it's their tragedy. We do our best to share the stories of people, those who make our community better. Please understand we do all of this to serve our community.
And one of the reporters also tweeted, there will be an edition tomorrow.
There will be a paper.
The news, so to speak, must go on.
Absolutely.
So to speak. That's incredible. All right.
All right. I think we wanted to go back out to, we're going to go back to, thank you. We're going to go back out to Captain Roy Taylor, who's been live over the scene since all of this developed this afternoon. Captain Roy?
Yes. We're still monitoring it. What we find interesting is on the back side of the initial shooting building. There still remains one medic. There's been a couple of officers that have been standing out here. We've been kind of trying to figure out what vehicle that the suspect might have been utilizing to get to the facility here, because there's two, if you want to call it, main entrances into the lobby. One's on the back side, one's on the front side here. And we haven't been able to come up yet with the car that he ended up transporting himself in. But as you can see, there's a unit that's sitting here on the back side, and we're just trying to figure out exactly what's going on with that. On the front, or on the south side of the building, is where all the, if you want to call it, command post, crime lab vehicles, all the special ops vehicles that they're using for their investigative operation here, that is where that's located. And for the most part, I want to say 90% of the vehicles that were on Bestgate Road that were from law enforcement that were initially responding to this have cleared out. There's still, I want to say, maybe 20 vehicles that are sporadically throughout Bestgate. So that still has some law enforcement vehicles parked in a precarious position, so to speak. But the command posts are here. The buses we talked about have left. They went back to Annapolis. We don't know the purpose of them, other than it might have been set up here to help for getting some of the officers out of the heat, so that it could have some type of air conditioning, or if there was an issue with somebody getting heat-related stress, they could cool off in that. The parking lot on the north side of the mall is pretty much empty. Before it was packed with people. Now it's almost like a ghost town. All the businesses that are adjacent to the initial facility, they've all cleared out. All the vehicles are pretty much gone from there. The businesses that are just like next door to it, they pretty much were shut down right after this happened, and they've left. But the crime scene area here, I want to say, is huge. If you want to take it and put it in blocks, figure about maybe 3 or 4 city blocks long by 2, maybe 3 city blocks wide, which they pretty much have tape around the entire location here to keep it secure while they do their investigation. We're still trying to get more, and as we do, we'll update you reporting live in Sky Team 11. I'm Captain Roy Taylor.
Yeah, Captain Roy, I want to pick your brain for a couple of minutes from a law enforcement point of view. You were in law enforcement for 25 years. So, first of all, explain 3 blocks from the building why the criminal investigation scene would be that far from the building. Are they looking for a possible vehicle? How the suspect got to the building?
It could have been. It could be a vehicle. It could have something. You know, it's easier to take and block off a wider area and make it small, and that way you have control of that area if you find any evidence, than it is if you start small and work out big, and then you find evidence. Well, that evidence could be contaminated. So that's why you start from a large area and then you work your way in. Once it's cleared out, or once they establish that it's not an issue, then they're able to, have it finite, make the, area smaller for just like a small parking lot as opposed to a large area. But there's just so many businesses here. We don't know how the individual came. I'm getting information that this person might have been known. So I'm still keeping an ear out on that, but it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. And the fact that he used a shotgun, he didn't use an AR-15 or he didn't use an assault-style weapon. He used a shotgun. I mean, a shotgun can do an extreme amount of damage, especially if you have, certain types of shells with high brass, double-aught buck, rifle slug. My gut feeling is he's probably had some type of scattering shells, which would be like a double-aught buck along that size there. It can cause tremendous amount of damage. I mean, the size of that shell would be like a .32 caliber round going off with high velocity, a lot of takedown power, and can do an extreme amount of damage. So they just have to make sure that they don't leave anything unturned, that nothing gets contaminated, that they're able to get as much as they possibly can. So that's why such a large area, and then eventually it will go smaller. But that's what's happening here now, Stan.
Yeah, and as far as the type of weapon, in close quarters, you can actually do more damage with a shotgun than you can with a long gun firing a single round.
Exactly. I mean, one shell, you've got, I forget how many double-aught bucks rounds are inside one shell, but you stop and think about it, it's a .32 caliber round, and most shotguns have the capability of holding at least 5 rounds as far as just a normal shotgun. I mean, you're legal to hunt with 3 rounds, but most shotguns can handle 5 rounds, and you put one in the chamber, that's 6. So that is a lot of damage that just one long shotgun can do in a situation like this. A Remington 870 or a Mossberg, I mean, is able to inflict a lot of damage in a small area.
All right, Captain Roy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, we want to send it out to our colleague Andre Hepkins, who is live on the scene now, and I believe you are joined by Congressman Brown. Andre?
Yes. Walk me in, guys. Exactly.
Just so that you know, I'm having some trouble hearing you, but I hear the voice of Deborah Weiner talking to me right now. I'm on the scene, the staging area for the media, and it's a massive media presence right here. There are media operations from all over the country right here that have descended on Annapolis, the capital of Maryland. I am looking at the Nordstrom right now. And speaking of the Annapolis Mall, for anyone watching right now who's trying to get in touch with a loved one, trying to reconnect with a loved one, they should go to the Lord and Taylor at the Annapolis Mall. I'm here on Bestgate Road. The building, the scene of the shooting is behind me. That is 888 Bestgate Road. I'm standing on Bestgate Road right at the intersection of Commerce Park Drive. And right now I am joined by Congressman Anthony Brown, who represents the 4th District of Maryland. First of all, your thoughts on this office place shooting, at least the second in the span of a year here in the state of Maryland.
Sure, and then the third shooting, we had one down in a high school in southern Maryland. First of all, my heart goes out to the families, the friends who lost a loved one here today, and to those who are going to be recovering because of emotional and physical and mental scars and injuries today. It's going to be a long healing process, but this is a strong community. Annapolis is. We all know it as our historic state capital. I've been able to represent this community for 2 years in Congress, and as Lieutenant Governor, I love this community, and the community's coming together. We had a great response from law enforcement in the immediate wake of this. Within the first 60 to 90 seconds, you've reported on it. I'm proud of the men and women in law enforcement. We've since had a number of agencies come in to support this joint effort to investigate, secure and investigate the site, the FBI, ATF, Maryland State Police, so kudos to them. And finally, let me say to Mayor Gavin of Annapolis, I mean, just several days ago, he did an active shooter exercise. That's what law enforcement does. They're professionals. They rehearse this so that when it happens, they're able to respond, and that's exactly what they did today.
Let's talk more about that response, that coordinated response with the Anne Arundel County Police Department and the partners here in the state of Maryland, and some federal partners as well.
Yeah, I mean, I called up County Executive Shue as soon as I learned of this. I was in my office or in Washington, D.C. We had votes today. Said, hey, what do you need? He said, look, this has been great. FBI's here, ATF's here. They're going to help us with the investigation. It's going to be led by the Anne Arundel County Police Department, as I understand it right now. But the immediate response was really a joint response. You had the city police, the county police, and I understand the sheriff involved. And that's because these are professionals that work together. They rehearse together. They're communicating with one another. This is dangerous work. They're professionals, and today it was a tragedy. We lost 5 people, and that hurts, and we're saddened. It could have been worse, but for those law enforcement officials.
Let's talk about those 5 people who were shot dead here in Annapolis. And earlier you mentioned the word community. Let's talk about this community and the Capital Gazette newspaper, which covered this community. A lot of the people walking around here, driving around here, knew these people that report for them every day.
Now, the victims have not been identified. I've been to that newsroom, and I've sat with reporters and the editorial board, and I'm proud of what they do. They take pride in what they do. They shine the light on the community and politics. They cover everything from the environment to criminal justice and politics, and they do it well. It's a great community newspaper because of the men and women that are dedicated to doing that work. So it's always sad when you have any tragic shooting that results in injury and the loss of life, but it really hurts here in our community and in our newsroom. This is our community newsroom.
And has such a history and a legacy here in Annapolis and the state of Maryland.
Oh, it sure does. I mean, you know, the Capital Gazette's been around for quite some time. Again, it's a community newspaper. You've got community newspapers folding up around the country, and they're doing well because they're highly respected, and that's because of the men and women who are dedicated to doing that work.
Before this tragedy, the reporters at the Capital Gazette and other reporters in our area would have been covering the Academy, the United States Naval Academy today, a very important day. But for this tragedy, we're covering this.
Yeah, again, they cover a wide range of issues. It's an exciting day today. On the other side of town, you got new middies showing up. They're about to raise their right hand and take an oath to do their very best to defend and protect our country. And on that same day that they're doing that, we've got someone who has a complete disregard for human life. We don't know his motive. He's not cooperating. And as of earlier, just an hour or so ago, didn't even have his identity. But quite a juxtaposition, right? One side of town, patriotic men and women. The other side of town, a depraved heart that took the life of 5 of our neighbors.
And we also heard, perhaps you know more, that this suspect who's in custody being interrogated by police, not cooperating, not talking to them.
Right, and from what I understand, and certainly there are experts that speak to this. I mean, more often than not, the shooter doesn't survive these incidents, and often intentionally they don't want to, so they put themselves in a position where they'll be killed or they take their own life. When you do apprehend a shooter in a situation like this, I think more often than not they do cooperate for whatever reason. I don't know their motives, but here this is, from what I understand, this is pretty unusual. A shooter who's not cooperating, not even providing their name, it certainly slows down an investigation. But I am confident that as soon as we learn his identity, we will get to motive. We will learn about the weapon or weapons that were used, how they were acquired, apply this learning to best practice so that we can do what we need to do to reduce violence in our communities.
Violence in our communities, reduce violence in our communities. We keep hearing that. We heard it in Southern Maryland. We are hearing it now. We heard it in Edgewood. What can we do about this? Here we are, yet again, another office place shooting here in the capital of Maryland. Right,
there's no single one thing that we can do, but that shouldn't be an excuse for inaction. Right, so we ought to be looking at what are the things that we can do to restrict access to guns for those that shouldn't have access. That's not everybody, but that's some people. What can we do to address the mental health needs of those who would be shooters, those who would do violence? That's part of it. When it comes to public facilities, and this was not a public facility, what can we do to fortify those facilities? And we think about our schools and limiting access in and out of our schools. So there are a number of things that we can do. Better a sharing of information and data between law enforcement. I think on that score there is more common ground, certainly in Washington. But these are contentious issues. But I think if we back up and we understand that all of us want to reduce violence, gun violence and non-gun violence, let's find the common ground. It may not be so obvious what that is, but that's our responsibility to find it and to move forward. I've got a number of provisions or bills in Congress, but I can't say that any one of them would have prevented this from happening. So there are a lot of things that we need to do to reduce violence, gun violence in our communities.
All right, thank you very much. Congressman Anthony Brown, representing the 4th District of Maryland on this day where 5 people were shot dead in that building behind me here on Bestgate Road. I'm Andre Hepkins reporting live back into the studio to you.
All right, Andre, thank you very much. And a little more about the suspects. We were talking about this person obviously is making it as difficult as possible for law enforcement to get to the question of why did you do this? What were your motivations? Wasn't carrying any ID. He's not talking with investigators. All we know is he's a white male, supposedly in his 20s. Is that what you said earlier? But we have learned, I was talking about this earlier, trying to identify this guy has been made difficult because his fingertips apparently have been damaged, whether it be by a razor blade cutting off the tips or by fire. Police have now confirmed that that is the issue, that is a problem, so they're having to rely on facial recognition. Throw that into a computer, see if he comes up, if he's committed any other crimes, or if he has a social footprint where his picture can be related to that. And once you can do that and make that association, perhaps to social media, now you start to get to a possible motive. He may have put out there why he's angry at whatever, for whatever reason, in particular to the Capital Gazette.
All right, let's go back out to Andre Hepkins. Andre?
By Congressman John Sarbanes, representing the 3rd District of Maryland, and you represent this district. So talk to me about how this hits you in the heart right now.
Well, Annapolis is a small town. It's a very tight-knit community, and the Capital Gazette is a small-town newspaper. It's been around for decades. So these are reporters that know people in the community. They've done human interest stories over the years. So when this newsroom gets attacked like this, it has a ripple effect that goes out into the community in some very unique ways. Now, I will say that the response of law enforcement here was outstanding. It was quick. Within 60 seconds, we're told. There were people on the scene, and it was coordinated as well at all different levels. So we really have to commend law enforcement, the first responders, and they got the situation under control. They got the shooter in custody quickly, and then that allows all the attention to move to the families, to the victims, to trying to provide support. And Anne Arundel County had a crisis response team set up quickly, a hotline, and a reunification center. So families wanting to know what's happening, they have a way of getting that information.
Let's talk more about that response and the coordination between the Anne Arundel County Police Department and the local, state, and federal partners. Have we learned something today from the response?
I think what we learn is when you have drills that are done. I mean, there have been exercises about live shooters, how you respond in a community like this, that are designed to work out the kinks. So if tragically you actually have to face this situation, everybody knows the role that they have to play, and there can be a quick and coordinated response. So I think that this could end up being really a test case in how, again, when something terrible like this happens, the community steps up, law enforcement steps up and tries to handle it in a very coordinated way. And I really want to commend all these are the professionals. These are the folks who are on the front line. They get there first, they do the job well, and that's what happened here today.
Congressman Sarbej, thank you very much for joining us. And
Thank
we
you.
are at the staging area. There's another official news conference scheduled for another hour or so. So as soon as we learn any new information, we of course will bring it back to you either on the air or online, back in the studio to you.
All right, Andre, we do have some information. Multiple senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News now that the suspect has now been identified. That was through facial recognition software. They're getting a court-ordered search warrant to search the suspect's home, but still no name released.
5 dead at the Capital Gazette, one of the oldest newspapers in the country. It actually published one of the first copies of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, now making history for something else.
We're going to go to NBC Nightly News. We'll be back with more coverage throughout the evening. We'll see you then.